I only know what's on the slideshow. Okay, all right. Yeah, no, thank you.
I've got a, what color is that? Blue. Do you think that's a good choice to actually? Yeah, that's good stuff.
I taught her how to juggle. She got some good juggling. She's got good hands. She's going. Make her pull them out and get going. She's got potential. Fun. And she did enjoy the plays. Everybody enjoyed the plays. They're easy.
A lot more.
Goes in.
Are you wishing that you had the lead role still, or the state?
No, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, like I said,
What we order?
It's from where? No, I'm not actually.
It's a district. Sure, here that was like distributing part. Just like
Oh, yes.
maybe for that students. Sandy, are we good? You good?
All right, we're going to call this meeting to order. Cindy, if you call the roll.
Matthew Williams.
Here.
Liz Bonhag.
Present.
Jason Clark.
Here.
Heather Court. Here. Glenn LaPolt.
Here.
Justin Severin. Here. Olivia Trubig.
All right, so we'll open. We've got plenty. We'll open the community forum for cell phones. Steve. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming out. This is a community forum where we want to hear your opinions on a couple of relevant topics today. Relevant topic number one is that the school board at the last meeting said that they would like to have a bell-to-bell ban on cell phones in the high school, similar to the middle school. And shortly after that, the Governor Hochul proposed legislation to do the exact same thing. So I'm not saying that Governor Hochul got the idea from our school board, but it's possible. And so this is probably going to be the law of the land in New York, or at least some version of it after it gets to the legislature. So the board has decided that we will have a ban starting in September 2026. Now you are probably wondering what that looks like. And the answer is we don't really know yet because we're working on that. So the next steps in the process are the high school administration have met with teachers, are going to assemble a committee, meet with the students, get some student leaders on the committee, and then they're going to come up with an exact explanation of what a ban in the high school will look like. So for the first half hour of this community forum, we'd like to hear your thoughts, concerns, and suggestions on this topic. And then the second order of business would be the possible closing of Duzine, something that has been discussed in the past here and there. The facilities committee has been investigating this, asked to do so by the board, asking about what it would look like to close Duzine. And two questions, major questions I think needed to be answered. One was, can you close Duzine? And the other is, should you close Duzine? As in, is the cost worth the difficulties you would go through? So there is a presentation later in the meeting from the facilities committee where they will give some specifics on their recommendation. But the recommendation is basically going to be this. We can close Duzine if we move the students in Duzine to Lenape, but there still won't be quite enough room. So something else would have to move out of Lenape. Could it be the 5th grade going to the middle school? Could be the district office going somewhere else. Those are topics that the facilities committee will opine on in a few minutes. The board has not had a chance to discuss this, so unlike the cell phone policy, cell phone ban that is going to happen, this is up for discussion. And so the facilities committee will also present the idea that it is worth doing because it'll save over $1 million a year, not counting the revenue you would get from renting or selling Duzine. So again, cell phones first, and that is a decision that has been made, but we have our high school administrators here. We have some a student leader here. Where she's somewhere. There she is, Kate, and other student leaders here. And if you have any opinions on how the cell phone ban should be rolled out, now is a great time to give that information. And if you have any thoughts on Duzine, we'll do that in a few minutes. And there's the podium. We didn't have a sign sheet. We just figured we'd see who wanted to come up and speak to the board.
I do not know how to work this.
I got you.
Do you need me to use this?
I think you
I don't know if they're, okay, a little better, okay. All right, so, hi, my name is Larabchenko, and I currently have kids in Duzine and the middle school and the high school, and they don't have cell phones, mostly because I've seen it at my own middle school where I teach across the river. I'm so happy that you have decided to do a bell-to-bell ban of them because they're so distracting, but it is very tricky. I can see lots of difficulties in enforcing it. So, you know, kids will sneak their cell phones out of their bag and bring them to the bathroom. So whatever your policy, there has to be a lot of, you know, asking teachers their ideas. And I forgot what else I was going to say. But I appreciate you doing it. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of sticking points, but I think it's worth it. Definitely. All right, thank you.
All right. Hi, I'm Jen Torborg, and I don't have any high schoolers yet. My oldest is in 6th grade. I really want to thank you also for making the decision about the bell-to-bell ban. I don't really have a lot of great advice about how to do it, but my heart is really strongly feeling that it needs to be bell-to-bell, and that I don't know how you make that happen during passing period, during lunch, but I wrote just a little something because I wasn't sure tonight if this was trying to convince or like that it's definitely done, but I'm really concerned for the community as a whole, and we're really vocal about making sure that our buildings are secure because we don't want strangers. They pose a threat to our students, but we put this tool in our kids' hands that allow them to have access to strangers every minute of every single day. And it's not just about paying attention to the teachers in class or decreasing the chances of like cheating on a test, because I assume that teachers are already awesome at that. If cell phones are in the room, I'm assuming that teachers are already, they have the skills that they need to get the students to focus and pay attention. But I'm really concerned about the times that the teachers aren't there when during the interim. I want our students to be able to relearn to connect with each other in real time during passing period and lunch. This is about reducing that constant dopamine release that our children's brains are getting. It's about giving them a break from the online harassment and constant messages that they get from social media that they're not enough, insert any adjective in there, smart enough, cool enough, skinny enough. So I don't see our kids as safer with phones on during the day, and I know you're going to get a lot of pushback that our kids aren't safe if you take away their phones. And I know that we also hear from the police that actually it's more dangerous if there's an emergency for everyone to have their phones on them anyway. But even regardless of that, I don't think they're safe when the school with it on. I see the bell-to-bell ban as potentially reducing that addiction and the anxiety and depression and loneliness and cyberbullying that comes with the territory of cell phone use and social media. And I see the ban improving focus and concentration, emotional intelligence, social skills, and deeper relationships among their peers in the community. So I'm really, really hopeful that we can come up with a way that students are not able to use it when there's an opportunity for them to talk. Let the lunchroom get loud. Let them talk to each other and have it not be so much on their phones anymore. And if you haven't already, and I'm gonna make a plea to the community too, if this is at all of interest to you, to read the book The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. It provides so much research-based information, and it could help you make decisions as a parent. If you've already made that decision that your child has a cell phone in there, they are using it all of the time, and you're a little concerned about being in that rabbit hole, there are ways to get out too. Thank you.
Thanks.
I have a question for Superintendent Grotto, if that's all right, about the cell phone ban.
Sure, Josh, go ahead.
If the committee decides that they need funding in order to enforce the cell phone ban, will you be willing to give this committee funding to enforce the cell phone ban?
Well, I don't make the decision on funding, I make the recommendations. In order for me to recommend to the board to spend some money on it, there'd have to be a good reason. I'll tell you honestly, I don't have a lot of interest in the fancy bags that lock, because I know that students have lockers that lock.
But to be clear, you do create the budget, which the board does vote on, correct?
Sort of, yeah.
Yep. All right, so if they do recommend funding, if they request funding from you, will you suggest to the board that funding needs to be allocated for the cell phone ban?
Well, requesting is part of it, the other part is convincing.
Right now, would you be convinced for funding for the cell phone ban?
I've seen no reason for it yet, so I'm unconvinced.
So you would, at this time, you do not believe that any funding should be allocated for the cell phone ban?
If a compelling reason is given to me, I would certainly listen to it, as would the board.
But right now, it's a no?
I don't have any compelling reasons, no one has asked.
All right, thank you.
Hi, I'm Stella Weisbird. I have a kid in the high school. I didn't have anything planned to say. I'd like to second everything that Jennifer said, because that was really excellent information there. And I too am particularly concerned about the socialization and mental health issues and implications, as well as the distraction stuff. So, and I do hope that funding will be looked at to find the best solution. If we can find a way to do it without spending money, sure, of course, but if we need to, I think it's worth it. Thanks.
Any other comments on cell phones?
I have a follow-up question. Is the board interested in increasing funding for mental health services for high school students?
We're certainly not against funding it now, so sure.
Sure?
Yeah.
Right now, is there any plan to increase the mental health funding for high school students?
No.
No? Thank you.
It's fine.
Do we want to move on to,
We should wait until 6, since that's what's advertised.
So I don't know if we should start.
So given we have 6 p.m. for the community forum on the possible closing of Duzine, we'll just take a brief recess for the next 15 minutes. All right, so I'm going to call the community forum to order for the discussion about the possible closing of Duzine. Steve.
So I introduced the topic, but some of you have just gotten here, so I'll just reintroduce the topic. Facilities Committee will be presenting in a little while on the specifics of what it would look like to close Duzine, move the majority of the students, I guess all of the students to Lenape, and move either the 5th grade or to the middle school or the district office somewhere. And so the Facilities Committee representatives will be presenting this. The board has not yet discussed this in any real form, so that will come a little bit later. But in the meantime, the board and the committee would like to hear what questions you have and what thoughts you have. Hopefully by the end of the evening, most of those questions will be answered. So step on up.
Hello, everyone. So first, let me say, this is not an easy decision, and I'm not here to criticize you. Thank you for what you do. I know, I just want to make sure that you are aware of a few things, so you have the information when you make your decision. So, unlike many places, the reason the number of students is decreasing isn't because we have bad schools. As you know, New Paltz is an above average school because of you and the staff, and while I'm sure you know this, I want to make sure the others in the room do as well. We're the #1 school in the Kingston, New York metro area, 187 in the New York high schools, and 1,907 in the national rankings. And so the other thing, it is not because people do not want to live here in New Paltz, and I want to make sure you realize that. I have been keeping track of some things. Based on the latest U.S. Census estimates from May of 2024, the population of New Paltz is now 15,466, compared to 2020 U.S. Census estimates of 14,395. This is an increase of 1,071, or a 7.4% increase. So why is the number of students decreasing? One possibility is that in 2023, there's an average of 1.94 children under 18 per family in the United States. This is a decrease from 2.3 children under 18 per family in 1960. Why does this matter? Well, a single family house used to have 2.3 kids, now it has 1.94. So if you don't increase the number of units, there are fewer children in the schools. I'm sure you have all heard we are in a housing crisis, but I wanted to make sure that you were aware that the village, town, county, and state are working to increase housing. The town and village have been working on it for years by changing zoning to increase density, and currently there are several under construction on 32 North near Duzine that I'm sure you know about, and there was one proposed for 32 South near the university that has several hundred units. So they are trying to increase housing. The village and town have also created a Housing Smart Task Force as part of the Ulster County efforts to increase the amount of housing by implementing Housing Smart actions. Also, the state is updating some of its laws. I'm not sure if you're familiar with how planning boards work, but there's this thing called State Environmental Quality Review Act, or SEQR, which has an impact when you go before the planning boards. It makes it very difficult. So the governor is trying to change the rules right now so that units, it's cheaper and easier to build small-scale multifamily houses. They won't have to do seeker. So that will help a lot too. So the bottom line is, before you make any decisions, be aware that the town and village, county, state, they're all trying to increase housing, which takes time. But hopefully, because we want people to move, because people want to move here, and because this is a great town with a great school, the number of students will increase. So thank you for what you do.
Hi. So I actually have a question which kind of bounces nicely off of all of those points that gentleman just made. I'm not saying do or don't close Duzine. I understand it's still up for discussion, but it's definitely a recommendation that's been made, and I'm sure a lot of thought went into the recommendation itself. But I was wondering if enrollment does start to increase over time, what's the plan? It does seem like moving all the kids to a different school is like a difficult thing to unwind, basically. So if we
do close Duzine, it would be interesting to know, and again, I thought the presentation was now, but this is the question, and I'm gonna miss the presentation, but I guess it's a request to either consider, if you do move everyone and then enrollment does start to go up, what's the contingency plan? Do you expand on that particular campus, or like how do you handle when, I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on that now, but please consider that if.
Well, the thought I would have is that's a great question, and that's something that we have to keep in mind. One thing that hasn't been decided or discussed in any way is what we would do with Duzine. And so sell or rent, and that question will be discussed and considered as they decide what would be done with Duzine if it were closed.
Okay. And then the other question, if I can ask another one, I'm sure this has probably been considered and may even be in the presentation, but I'm curious whether the moving, let's say the enrollment is as it is today, and if the students get moved to Lenape, just as you described, and the fifth graders are moved here or somewhere else, how would that impact the number of students per classroom? I'm not really thinking about student-teacher ratio, because you can, if you put double the students in a single classroom, you can also double the teachers, and the ratio still looks good, but does this increase our sort of students per classroom number? You see what I'm saying? Yeah.
Good question. Let's say you had a scenario where you had two K-5 schools, and you took your two K-5 schools and you put them together. There might be opportunity to have larger classes and reduce staff and save money. That's not the situation. We have a pre-K to 2 building and a 3 to 5 building. So the pre-K to 2 kids would come, and the teachers would come with them. So I don't see a scenario where this move increases class sizes.
Okay, so there are enough empty classrooms or spaces to literally transfer one for one all the classes from Duzine into Lenape, is kind of what you're saying.
With the understanding that you'd have to move somebody out.
Yes, with the moving of the somebody out.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
First of all, pardon me, I have a scratchy voice. I've been teaching, and the voice has been gone since September. Anyway, thank you all for offering this preliminary discussion. And I liked what Neil said. I'm not here to criticize, but I do think there's an extensive amount of questions that have to go into this process. And I don't envy any of you going through this, but I never do really at this table. So I do have to introduce myself though. I'm Matt Elkin. I'm a parent in the district, a voter, taxpayer. And I've been at Duzine for 18 years. At first, I was not opposed to the idea of closing Duzine, but when I heard the possibility of it happening at the start of 2026 school year, I spent more time thinking about it and the numerous potentially short-sighted pitfalls that could present itself in that amount of time. And now I've personally concluded that I don't really support the idea at all. So I'm really here to ask questions. I did bring 30 questions to leave you with, hoping that you get to them at some point. But I just, a quick side note, I also am not making this a nostalgic, emotional grab for Duzine. But I do want to mention that Duzine's never really had flashy resources that some of the larger, better funded districts have. But we do have an invaluable, warm, developmentally appropriate, nurturing environment that fosters learning at the earliest ages in New Paltz, as we all know. Other districts locally have made tough decisions about consolidating schools, and my big question is really, should we do this? Should we be like them? Do we need to do this? Is it necessary? And is it really going to solve the problems that we're trying to solve? And as we move forward in the discussion, I really urge the board to carefully consider these questions. Mr. Grotto is clearly working day and night to right our financially sinking ship, and you all support him in that as well. But does this community elected board see themselves as the one to leave behind this legacy of closing one of the most important buildings in New Paltz? It seems unnecessary and overambitious and short-sighted. So I'm going to leave you with these questions. I'm going to read just a few of them, but I don't think it's fair to the rest of the audience for me to go through all of them. The cost of closing and repurposing Duzine, and we do have a builder on the board, so I know this is near and dear. How much, well, first of all, what are the upfront costs of closing the building, including any necessary decommissioning, maintenance, or moving furniture and supplies over to the new building? It's a long process. How much would it cost to prepare, Mr. Gatto just said, Duzine for rent or lease? Clearly, it wasn't included in the capital project vote, or in the plans for the capital project. We know that there are issues with the building. It's not ready to lease or rent to others. I'm familiar with the local New Paltz rental and real estate market. I know that that building is not ready for lease or rent unless the owners are ready to prepare it for that. So that said, how much would it cost for us to ready that? Of course, if you were to sell the building, you could sell it as is and get whatever that price is. So how much would it cost to prepare it? What specific renovations, thinking of the cost of expanding or modifying Lenape in the middle school, or as you said, just moving in the students, what renovations or modifications would be required at Lenape to accommodate the additional students, the smaller students at that, and what are the estimated costs of these upgrades? At Duzine, we did just welcome the universal pre-K over the past couple, a year or two ago, and some of the costs were transparent here at the board meetings, but there were a lot of hidden costs that we asked for and really didn't get to see. And we see them every day, from printers to copiers to furniture to new equipment for those children to accommodate the smaller, younger children. And then along the same lines, how much would it cost to move the 5th grade into the middle school and necessary renovations and furniture and infrastructure changes for that? Has there been yet, it sounds like not, it's very preliminary, but will there be an independent cost-benefit analysis conducted to compare the long-term savings of closing Duzine against the potential financial strain of adapting the existing buildings? So, just a couple more to wrap up. The biggest financial considerations for me, amongst these 30 other questions, so far in the note about this meeting, we're hearing that this would be over $1 million of savings. It reminded me of the old Austin Powers quote, $1 million. So I really look forward to hearing what that is, how many millions, and more importantly, is that an annual savings or is it a one-time savings? And when will those savings begin and how long will it last? And then who will see those savings? Who will feel those savings? Will there be benefits that we will see and feel? I'm really wondering about that in the long term. I certainly am not feeling like the students will know or feel any of these things. And finally, will those savings just simply offset the cost of closing the building, preparing it for lease for other people, preparing Lenape in the middle school for increased staff and students to move in? So if it is sold or leased, what will the revenue be invested towards? So again, I understand this is huge. I understand there's going to be a lot that goes into this. And I really feel like September 2026 is way too soon. Way too soon. And we have so much on our plates in this district as it is. I'm not sure adding this to the plate right now is really going to be beneficial to our staff, our students, most importantly our students, and our community. So thank you so much for getting this started, but it's a long road ahead, and it's not 1 year, I hope. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Janice Doherty, also known as Janice Hoffer. I teach at second grade at Duzine. This is my 20th year, so Matt said he's not going to make this an emotional plea for Duzine, but I can't promise the same thing, as I feel like it's my home. I love everything about it, every little thing about it. So I can't promise, I won't be emotional about it. I do not want Duzine to close for many, many reasons. As a teacher and someone who loves Duzine, but most importantly, as the mother of a kindergarten daughter, my most important role yet. I do have some questions here just for consideration for you all to think about. You might have already been thinking about them. Some of the things Matt and I'm sure others have already mentioned. Mr. Browdy already said pre-K through 2, so I'm imagining that universal pre-K will still be housed within Lenape or Duzine at that, with the possibility of the move.
That's the recommendation.
That's the plan. Okay, great. So some things Matt just said, changing Lenape's pre-existing structure to accommodate children that are smaller in size. The bathrooms, the water fountains, the sink. My daughter goes to Camp Wiltmeet at Lenape and she loves it there. And she actually got stuck in the bathrooms one day because the wooden door was too heavy for her, and I almost couldn't send her back there because she was sort of scared. So just little things like that we might not be thinking about. These are very little people. I know even the art room, I believe, has elevated sort of studio type tables. We would need to somehow figure those out for those small people. And speaking of the small people, the playground, which I love and is great, I can't imagine having large amounts of small children on the playground. It's not safe. I would doubt it would be recommended by anybody. Will there be more playground equipment built? What will that look like in order to keep it safe for the smaller students? I am wondering about specials. So some of our special staff are shared, such as art and library right now, but music and gym are not. And so I don't know how that would look. I already know our amazing art teacher, and it's doing all she can. I just don't see where that, the room would be for that. And the library, Duzine has, I think, 1,000 books in there. Lenape has many amazing books as well, but the range of the type of literature that a pre-K child needs all the way up to 5th grade is huge, and it would be a huge disservice to try to consolidate the libraries in order to fit all those wonderful books into one space. I don't know, I doubt there'll be extra classrooms at that point, so that's just, again, something that I've been thinking about. And then lunches, I think lunches and recess is always, it's always kind of in the forefront of everyone's mind. I don't know how that would work. I'm sure y'all have been thinking about that as well, but my understanding is that in Lenape already, they do sort of a switch, so 20 minutes, for the first 20 minutes, some kids eat, some kid goes out, and then they switch. So they're already having to do that to fit the pre-existing lunches at Lenape. So then if we add more students, what would that look like? And then recess. So at Duzine, we have scheduled in extra recess, I think, including adults throughout the whole world. But would there be time for that? For the children to have access to the playground and that free time? I think in this sort of day and age, we need more of that, not less. And finally, I have to say, based on my years of experience as a teacher, my own personal feelings, I do not think it's appropriate for 5th graders to be at the middle school level. I've spoken to a lot of people, and some people say, oh, they do it here and they do it there. And to kind of quote my mom, if they all jumped off the Empire State Building, would you as well? It might seem like a good idea because we're saving money and space and time, but I don't think it's what's best for students. I had sort of a minor mommy meltdown thinking about my daughter being a 5th grade here at Lenape, at the middle school with no playground. I know you said they would be kind of in their own wing, but don't love that either. They're going to be secluded or separate from other students but the 5th grade class then, and I would wonder what that would look like too as far as specials is. And then probably another piece that I didn't know is that then they would be on the school buses with students all the way up to 12th grade, which I learned that in my own sort of chat about. I did speak to a teacher who was here when they did the original, when they first brought no, that's wrong. I spoke to a teacher who said that in her district that they do 5th graders at there, and she said it works, it can happen, but it's not great. And I just think that our students deserve great, and most of all, my daughter deserves great. Thank you so much for everything you guys do. I know this is not easy, and I hope you'll take these into consideration. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Just a quick question I had before coming in to follow up on, what is it? Janice. Janice? Yep. Janice. I thought you said Jens.
Oh, I know.
Okay, so my hearing aside, I guess this, I don't know if it's a question or more of a statement, but it, regarding the 5th graders on the bus with middle school and high schoolers. That's a concern of mine as well. I don't know if it doesn't sound like there's a plan in place with what to do with the 5th graders, whether they're, where they're going to go. But I think combined with, I'd ask you to consider that and try to consider not moving the 5th graders for some of the same reasons: playground access, playground time, being with kids that are that much older, waiting for the school bus, on the school bus. But in addition to that, it seems for me, and everyone, there's going to be an impact, right? We all know there's going to be an impact to a lot of different aspects of the schools, the community, and everyone else. The way I'm looking at it is, you've got the district offices, there's adults working in the district offices, and while there's costs associated with maybe retrofitting another building to allow for offices to be configured, it seems more appropriate to inconvenience adults and move them and have their life be upended for a little bit, because that's just professional life sometimes. And sorry for anyone who's in the district office who disagrees with me, but that's what I think. Then to have a bunch of 5th graders be moved from schools, kids who are expecting to go to that school, have that whole thing change, keeping it intact. I would ask you to please consider that aspect of things when you go through this process. Do you have any information on, or is that still this is still in the works?
Well, it's very much in the works. We have a presentation coming up from the Facilities Committee later in the meeting.
You mentioned that.
And we'll address, although already from your comments, there's slides that could certainly have been added to answer some of these questions, but they'll answer several of your questions. And if they don't answer now, there'll be other meetings like this before any decisions are made.
Okay. Based on these questions, there'll be another presentation after the one that's been prepared that will address these questions?
Whenever the board wants.
This certainly won't be the last time we talk about it, so.
Okay,
yeah.
Please consider the questions in your next presentation. Thank you.
Hi, is that good? Matt Bialecki, 40-year resident, 2 children, successful graduates of the district. They're doing well. I want to talk a little about Duzine and also how it relates to the last election. For the first time, I voted against. proposition for capital improvement. Facing retirement, like many people, on a fixed income, substantial increases in any tax bill threatened my home. I was heartened to see, and I thought it was really smart, to have the exit poll, and filled one out, got on your email list.
Good.
And it struck me afterwards, and after, you have to kind of admit that that was a fiasco. 75% of the district voted against the pool. But it struck me that the way to avoid that and the cost of that, and I'd like to know, and I think the public needs to know, how much was spent to get the estimates for the pool. I'm an architect. Any good architect should be able to say, yeah, it's going to be between 15 and 20. If you spent more than a few hours getting that, there was a waste of precious resources. And I find it ironic that in the midst of, wow, a real blue sky expansion of this district facilities, 2 months later, we're talking about shutting down facilities. And I certainly feel for and remember great memories of my children at Duzine. And I encourage, as a process, the board undertake meetings like this. And also, you might consider very much the exit poll you did after those propositions, capital improvement, to do that when you get enough information so that people can do a straw poll. Now, maybe you did that before and I got a flyer and threw it in the trash, probably. But I think it's really effective. And here are the savings. Here are the programmatic and physical manifestations of what that's going to be. But I really encourage you to consider the tax burden on all of the residents of this district and to prioritize the education and the environment for that education for our children. And to do that in concert with the community, because probably not the only one that thought the whole thing was way off the rails. And the irony of now coming back, when you thought on one hand the district could afford 20 million, and now, wow, let's cut, close down a school and save 1 mil is neck snapping. So I encourage you, outreach, get those surveys out, do it before a public election or a proposition and the expensive one, and proceed with caution and frugality. Thank you.
We will be presenting the results of the exit survey a little later.
Hi, I'm Julie Seifert. I am on the town board, but I'm here as a private citizen. I want to thank you for your service, all of you. And I'm definitely not here to critique. I am someone, I do want to speak up though, and I appreciate the opportunity. I have a child who's in the high school. I've subbed at Duzine and Lenape, and I have taken children since about 2016 into the woods in Millbrook Preserve, and I'm here to say I do not support closing Duzine. I just wonder, you're all elected officials like I am. I think I first ran in 2016 and I've been a town board member ever since, so that's how many years? About 9 years of being an elected official. And I don't tend to be very political, and sometimes we run on a ticket, and if maybe you could consider, if you were running on a ticket, where you are running on a ticket to close Duzine and to fill us, have potentially, I'm not sure if this would be what you would do, but have children who are in 5th grade be on buses with 12th graders, and maxing out a school that's made for older kids. And Janice made an incredible, presentation of the different things that would have to happen. I currently teach in a school, in a room where I have to manage the furniture for nursery through 5th grade. I teach science at a school. That's a great point. All the things, including an art room and a library, where you can't accommodate both, and you shouldn't try to have, take away books in order to put different books in. So, I've seen the faces of children when, especially as a sub, as a parent, I kind of watch the faces of the children when they run into the arms of their parents at the end of the day at Duzine. It's precious. Those children at Duzine feel like it is their place. They have expectations when they go in. They expect it to be a safe place. They expect to feel comfortable, and when they enter as a kindergartner or perhaps as a preschooler, they expect to feel lifted up, and it's their place. 2nd graders, they're a big fish in a small pond, and again, the Millbrook Preserve is an incredible resource. It's all there for the children. When I see the children leave the Millbrook Preserve, what's on their face is joy. They don't only connect to nature, they connect to themselves. And there are children, I promise you, I've taken in, who have not been on a hike. They've not been in the woods. They have very few opportunities. And to squander that opportunity to have a school that's next to a nature preserve is a horrible shame, I think. So again, I really appreciate the previous speaker too, because I was going to make a point about the $1 million coming on the back of this initiative to potentially have taxpayers pay $20 million or so. So that's about it. I really appreciate everyone who's come here to talk, and thank you for your time.
We do have a hall full of 4th grade musicians ready to come in when you're ready for them.
So we want to.
If we're ready to move, the 4th graders are ready to come in. Why don't you bring them in, David, and bring them in, get them set up wherever you want to. We would love that.
You got to bring the energy up.
A whole different people.
Sandy, should I kick off the meeting?
We never did a pledge of allegiance.
So we're going to have to move 7.4. We're going to do this. What do we have?
What are we doing now?
What's that?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
By inviting them, I assume you wanted to have them.
I just don't want to do it. I mean, keep doing it.
Yeah, I get that.
Oh, I see. The X, we should do the Exxon, but we can do the Exxon.
Just like risers, go on the steps. All right, come on in. Hey, come on in.
Just don't block the legs. I'm just going to
The right
do it
side,
right.
side of the camera. And then fill the steps down.
Oh, you're fine.
Down.
Two over here.
Forward.
There we go. Now start filling in the steps
Come
down
on into
below.
the chair, you can step there.
All right, so we're going to reopen the public meeting. We've already called the roll. Can everybody please stand for the pledge?
Hi, Mom. Here? Here?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a motion for, can I get a motion for 5.1, agenda changes or revision of item 18.1, edition of 18.5, and I guess also,
one more down.
do I need to make an agenda change for moving spotlight?
Good.
No.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Then we're going to jump right to spotlight on program, 4th grade band.
All right.
Thank you very much for having us tonight. So I am Mr. Finch. I'm David Finch. I'm the band director at Lenape Elementary School, and we have a really special treat for you tonight. And obviously we have some of our fourth grade band guests. And I just want to share a little bit about what we're doing in the music department. There's a lot happening, and it's really exciting stuff. I'm going to try to go quick because they want to play for you. But just to give you an idea about what we're doing as a music staff for the students of New Paltz, as you know, we've kind of finished the winter concert season, which was fantastic. Kids from all the build, just amazing performances across the board. We have, I'm going to just tell you some of the events that have occurred too that are district-wide events. I'm going to go really fast because we have students all over the place doing lots of amazing things in this district. January 11th, we had all-county band auditions. January 16th, we had the 6th grade School of Rock winter concert. January 24th, 25th, with all-county chorus with lots of New Paltz members there. January 31st, February 1st, just this past weekend, we had all-county jazz with lots of, again, several New Paltz students participating in all-county jazz. Tonight, just tonight, we have the Mount is hosting Woodwind Day. We have multiple New Paltz students participating in workshops, concerts, and other stuff just tonight at the Mount, which I came from and I'm going back to. We have, and I'm going to talk about what we're doing with our fourth graders in a little bit because that's the spotlight. We have February 28th and March 1st, we have all-county band. Again, members from both Lenape Middle School and high school band students participating in that festival. We have the SUNY Ulster Community Band has a connection with the high school. So the high school has a collegiate program with that band. And we had, I think Mr. Newsom, our high school band director, had, I think, about 16 students participate in the fall in that collegiate program. Again, that's for college credit, and again, this semester is continuing as well. And there's 3 concerts in the spring semester they participate in. We, of course, have the New Paltz Middle School musical, March 7th and 8th, which includes, of course, lots of middle school students. March 11th, this is brand new for us. March 11th, Tuesday, we have an all district, so in-district choral concert, which includes chorus from Lenape 5th grade chorus, a 8th grade chorus, and a high school chorus, all working together for a scholarship all-district concert on Tuesday, the 11th of March. And then the 13th of March, we're having an all-district band concert with the 5th grade band, the 8th grade band, and the high school band. Again, just hundreds of students participating in these musical events. And of course, March is Music in Our Schools Month, and I know their middle schools holding more concerts. And then just to cap off March, and this is just March, we have the high school musical. So amazing things from amazing students. Let me tell you what these amazing students are doing. So we are hosting a Hot Cross Buns Festival night, and in coordination with the PTA. And that night, which is supposed to be tomorrow night, but the snow date for the festival night, okay, is going to be Tuesday, just in case if there's no school tomorrow. We'd like to have it tomorrow night, but the weather will tell us, you know. So Tuesday, February 11th will be the snow date on that festival. So let me tell you a little bit about the festival. So we're going to be having the fourth grade band, which is made up of about 85 to 90% of fourth graders. So we run about 100 students in the fourth grade band. And we're going to be doing hot cross buns, and we're going to be rotating, having lots of different groups playing different hot cross buns. And we're also doing it for charity. It's going to be a food donation night as well. It's a little take on buns, hot cross buns. And we're going to ask people that attend bring a donation of food or personal care products. And all of that information did go out to the parents and out to the public on our websites about specific needs that the food pantry. This is the New Paltz family of New Paltz food pantry. So right here, and one of the things we're educating kids about is, so as a musician, we play for ourselves because we love it. We play as a group because we love playing as a group. And now we're playing for bigger causes. We're bringing community in. We're doing something for beyond just ourselves. And that's really what's important about just another aspect of the music that we do. So without further ado, though, I'm going to introduce, and I want to thank Mrs. Houston and Mrs. Wilcock, fourth grade teachers. This is their entire class that and their parents who brought them in tonight, and they're going to showcase a bit of hot press bumps for you to preview our program that will occur later. All right, so here we go. All right, and no further ado, we have our 4th grade. Are you ready, friends? Here we go. All right. 1, 2, and. Thank you very much. And this couldn't have happened without you. The 4th grade band program is new, so I want to thank you very much. Last year we started in January, but this school year we started in September, and we are just so psyched to have it. It's awesome. They've been doing great. Just wonderful things ahead for them. As I just shared, all that musical stuff that I shared with you starts right here with them. So thank you very much, and I appreciate your time, and thank you to you guys. Great job, and we'll see you soon for our next. Okay, thank you.
Hey, how are you doing?
Which one's next? Yeah, I think so. Do you know if there are exceptional forms here, exceptional presenters here? She says she doesn't see.
I don't know what he looks like.
We don't know what he looks like. We'll have to ask.
His name is Ahmed Green.
What's that?
Ahmed Green. With some things on it.
Great.
Should I just do 6 points? Should I just read 6 points?
All right, that's going to take us to item 6, acceptance of donation. Can I get a motion to accept $575 from Chestnut Market as a result of their 2024 Exxon Pump for a Cause initiative?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there Ahmed Ramsey here? No? All right. We're expecting to accept the donation meeting. All right, that takes us to student recognition. Joseph Bimbal.
I am not Joe Birnbaum. Hi, everybody. I'm here tonight for basically 2 reasons. First, I've had the pleasure of working with Joe Birnbaum now for about a year and a half. And to say that he is an exceptional student and an amazing human is not really enough. Becoming a Regeneron Science Talent Search finalist just makes it easier for the rest of us to recognize how fabulous Joe really is. You'll hear more from him in a second. My second task is to tell you a little bit about the science research in the high school program that we've had here at New Paltz for about 3 decades. I am Kurt Ulrich. I have been facilitating the science research program for the past couple years. Several years ago, I also taught the science research class until some hotshot from Philadelphia came and took my position. Science research affords students an opportunity to dig into a science or technology topic of their choice. They then design and carry out meaningful investigations in that area with help from mentor scientists. They gather and crunch their data and ultimately present their findings to the public, as you're going to see. In short, they do science. The whole thing. This is the real deal. This program is actually structured, it's over a 3-year period. And yes, that presents some pretty serious difficulties when it comes to scheduling, and it also speaks to the commitment that the students have when they enter the program. Through the program, they can gain upwards of 12 credits, and these are undergraduate credits through SUNY Albany. These are not AP credits, although there's nothing wrong with AP credits. They're super fabulous. Students will actually generate a transcript from SUNY Albany. I keep saying SUNY New Paltz. SUNY Albany, much like I did. I am a Great Dane, as well as an adjunct professor there. The classes themselves are structured around tri-weekly meetings, so every 6 or 7 classes I meet with students individually for about half a block, so for about 40 minutes. And during that, or just before the meeting, the students will prepare a little narrative about what they've been working on through 3 different domains: the content that they've been working on, the sense of professionalism, and personal growth. They also give themselves a score in each one of those domains. During the meeting, we discuss their progress, the troubles that they've been having, and develop goals for the next meeting. And then, of course, we agree upon the scores for each domain. In their sophomore year, students spend time really getting a feel for what research is. This is kind of an intro to research course. They figure out how to access journal articles, how to read journal articles, and maybe even understand what journal articles are actually saying. And through this process, they become or come closer to being an expert in the topic that they choose. Through these investigations and looking into the papers, they get to a point where they are comfortable enough to start to talk with professionals in the field, hopefully generating a kind of mentor-mentee relationship to carry them through the rest of the coursework. In a perfect world, they'll also get the opportunity to do summer work in that sophomore or junior summer, however you're going to grade that there. Come on. In that summer work, they will do some sort of preliminary study, maybe work with their project that their mentor has been working on. If they get together 90 hours of documented efforts, they can earn 2 credits, again, undergraduate credits. A lot of times these summer programs start to look a little bit like internships. In their junior year, there you go, I'm completely off of that, who cares? In their junior year, they can register for 4 credits of undergraduate work, and throughout the year they develop their own research plan with their mentors, get the necessary approvals, gather the necessary resources, and of course I say that like they're just going to get it. That takes a considerable amount of creativity on their part and on our part. Again, in a perfect world, they'll spend some time collecting some data, maybe moving into another summer's worth of work where they can continue collecting the data, getting a couple credits, and maybe even start doing their data analysis. You might be asking yourself, where are these students going to be doing this work? And eventually my clicker will work. Come on, there we go. A lot of the students will use the convenient sample that we have at the high school. I think my battery is dying. There we go. And work right with the students themselves. We do obviously work a lot with the SUNY New Paltz faculty, and many students do get a chance to work in and around the labs. I have students who do quite a bit of work up on the ridge, as you're going to hear about, though he didn't work with the Mohonk Preserve. The Mohonk Preserve is a great resource. They have all kinds of research and education infrastructure that we should really be taking more advantage of, honestly. I've had students working at Hudsonia, at Marist University, la-di-da-di, NCON and Seton Hall and Cornell Cooperative Extension, just to name a few. We have kids working all over the place. In their senior years, the students spend time they're going to get 4 more credits, of course, and they spend time completing their data analysis and working on prodigious amounts of presentations and getting ready for competitions. Many of our students will enter the Junior Science and Humanities Symposium that is now at RIT. We have students who go to GICRSEF, which is the Greater Capital Region Science and Engineering Fair. They enter Genius Olympiad, which focuses on environmental science studies, and of course the Regeneron Science and Talent Search, which I've heard this described as the Heisman Trophy of research, of undergraduate research, and so I cannot speak highly enough of what this young man has been able to do in becoming a finalist. This is going to follow him around well into and past undergraduate for sure. I could stand up here and enumerate all of the benefits of going through this whole process of the scientific method. I'm going to just leave with words from Dr. Deborah Bader. She's a CEO of a high-power college counselors getting placement, getting people into colleges. She says that positioning is one of the most important concepts to think about as you move through high school, learning, achieving, and growing. How do you want to be perceived by admissions? And how do you position yourself as a vibrant, curious, and unique mind so that you ensure those perceptions? Will taking the same 8 to 10 AP courses as everyone else differentiate you? How about being a member or a leader of the same clubs that everyone else is involved in? Will that differentiate you? If you are a STEM talented student, you are lucky. One of the greatest differentiators for admission to top universities is engagement and competition in STEM research. And that's exactly what we are endeavoring to provide for these students. Now, I'm not going to take any more time away from Joe because I really want you guys to hear what he has to say. But if you want to hear more from the students involved in the program, every year we have our science symposium. This year it's on June 5th at 6 o'clock in the high school. All of the science research students prepare posters. They're on hand to answer your questions. The seniors also present their final research projects. I want to thank you all for being in the position that you're in and helping to support programs like science research in the high school. I'm going to turn it over to Joe now because he's what you all want to hear about it.
Hello everyone, today I will be presenting my work on the effects of wildfire intensity on the regeneration of Piner-Sajita Mill, also known as pitch pine, on our very own Shawgunk Ridge. The Shawgunk Ridge is composed of many different forest types, but the main forest type at high elevation is the pitch pine Oak Heath Rocky Summit ecological community. This community has the keystone species, which is pitch pine. And this high elevation forest type burns very frequently, and as a result, pitch pine is heavily adapted to recover after fire, so much so that it is now completely dependent on wildfire to regenerate. It has serotinous cones, which are cones covered in a thick sap that only melt after extreme heat from fires. We can see one of these cones over here with seeds in it, and then also a single seed on that side. There is also the dwarf pitch pine in similar areas of the Shawgunk Ridge. It is an endangered subspecies found only here and in the New Jersey Pine Barrens. It is extremely hardy and can grow in almost no soil, growing directly into cliff faces of the Shawgunk Ridge. And pitch pine has taken a serious turn for the worse in recent years. Recent wildfire in Sam's Point produced almost no seedlings, and that is a serious problem because that is not enough to it's not enough to regenerate the forests. This study will cover the Napanock Point wildfire, and that was a 2022 wildfire in the Sam's Point Preserve, which is an area of Minnewaska State Park. As you can see on the right here, we have the fire boundary in purple, and the green hexagons are fire monitoring plots inside the fire, and the blue dot is the control plot outside the fire. This study in Ontario, Canada on prescribed burns found that the high burn intensity of fires was beneficial to pitch pine seedlings. More were seen in the same amount of area, higher densities. And this is the general view of pitch pine regeneration, that hotter fires make more pitch pine seedlings because this eliminates canopy cover and reduces shrub competition while also giving the seedlings more available nutrients from the burn substance. However, this study in the Blue Ridge Mountains found that low intensity, not high intensity fire provided more seedlings. We can see here that low intensity had over 1,500 more seedlings than high intensity, and this conflicts with the popular narrative that high intensity fires are better, and also may provide reasoning to show that the best intensity is different based on the location of the fire. This was a study conducted in Minnewaska State Park after the 2016 high intensity fire, which the effects of can still be seen from today when you're driving on the road over the mountain. The expected seed count was supposed to be in the thousands, but through this study we can see that it peaked at about 85 seedlings, which is extremely low and is not enough at all to regenerate the full forest, which can lead to potential ecosystem collapse. The methodology, the preliminary methodology of this project was established when the Sam's Point research team established 5 monitoring plots within the fire, and then this studies team established 1 plot outside the fire. The seedlings were then counted in each plot bi-weekly, and on October 23rd, height data was taken of the seedlings. This chart is color coordinated, so red is the highest fire intensity, yellow medium, and blue low. As you can see, the highest fire intensity had the largest seedling height. And a soil sample was collected in December before rain would wash away nutrients in order to get a view of nutrients before they receive any disturbances. There is no understanding of how wildfire intensity affects pitch pine in the Shawgunk Ridge, and specifically pitch pine regeneration. As a result, the goals of this study are to establish what intensity is the best for pitch pine regeneration in terms of seedling height, seedling number, and also soil nutrients. This studies team predicted that the high burn intensity sites will have more seedlings and also more soil nutrients, but that the lower severity sites would have taller seedlings. There are 6 total monitoring plots for this experiment. Each plot was given an intensity scale, an intensity score based on the Sam's Point fire intensity scale, which is a 3 to 15 scale broken up into 1 to 5 scales for each layer of the forest, your ground, your shrub, and your canopy layers, and each one gets a burn score that is then added up. The control plot was unburned and therefore had a score of 0. The low intensity plot had a score of 5. The moderate intensity plots both had a score of 8, and the high-intensity plots had scores of 12 and 13, respectively. For the 2024 growing season, seedling height and seedling number were monitored throughout the entire duration of that growing season, bi-weekly. And for seedling height, the procedure was 30 randomly selected seedlings, or as many seedlings as existed in the plot at that time, would be measured and then calculated for averages. Soil sampling was taken in June, 6 months after the first soil sample, to gauge how nutrients had shifted around, and then was tested at the Rutgers Soil Laboratory through my mentor and then by the laboratory director. This is a picture of me collecting soil samples from the control plots, which you can see has some debris obscuring me up to my midsection. So here we can see the pitch pine seed and eventually the seedling that it turns into. That is a seedling in the highest intensity plot. I personally did all of the data collection and statistical analysis, and my mentors supervised virtually each part of the process to make sure that the scientific process was sound. These are all these significant results from the study. This graph on the left here shows the seedling count over the duration of both growing seasons. We can see that this graph is also coded for fire intensity, with the reddest being the highest intensity. And we can see that this yellow line up top, this medium severity site, had significantly higher amounts of seedlings than all others. But this that medium intensity site had almost 300 seedlings, and that is much higher than the 2016 fire, where we saw 85 seedlings in 21 monitoring plots, and in this one we see over 500 seedlings in only 5 plots of the exact same size. So much better seedling counts than the previous fire. In this analysis of variance on the right, we can see that moderate intensity had a significantly higher amount of seedlings than high and low intensity, which were statistically about the same. This graph on the left shows seedling average heights over the 2024 growing season only, and also coded for fire intensity. We can see that the darkest red had the highest average seedling height. That's all for that one. And then in the analysis of variance on the right, we can see that moderate intensity had the lowest seedling height, and high and low intensity were both about the same seedling height. At no point in the study did the control plot ever have a seedling, showing how important fire is for pitch pine regeneration. These are soil printouts of the nutrients phosphorus and nitrate for the 2023 and 2024 growing seasons. In this first table, we can see that the nitrate in Site 5 and Site 7, those are the 2 high severity sites. They are the only ones with significant amount of nitrates. And we can see at the top, Site 4 in phosphorus has the highest phosphorus, and that site also has the highest amount of seedlings and was a moderate intensity site. And then after spring rains in 2024, we can see that nitrate, which is water soluble, those results are no longer significant. They've been moved around. And we can see that phosphorus, which is not water soluble, the high phosphorus was maintained in the moderate intensity site with the highest number of seedlings. These analysis of variance show the effect of phosphorus on seed count. We can see that there was a generally positive relationship. As you had more phosphorus, you saw a higher seed count. And nitrate also had an interesting effect on seedling count, where a nitrate deposit of 5 to 15 parts per million saw the highest amount of seedling count. In terms of really important work here, this study discovered a pitch pine sweet spot of moderate fire intensity, where the highest number of seedlings are seen compared to both low and high intensities. And even though these seedlings were shorter, this did not affect their vitality. Early nitrate in the previous graph, early nitrate in those high intensity sites possibly led to higher growth in high intensity, because nitrate is used in commercial fertilizers as a additive for large green leafy growth, which could definitely have contributed to increased heights. And the high phosphorus in the site with the largest amount of seedlings could be explained because phosphorus phosphorus is taken up by plants and converted for extra root growth and water drought resistance. So the seedlings in the plot with the highest phosphorus are able to withstand longer and stronger droughts. As climate change causes hotter and larger fires, we will see more frequent droughts, and also those seedlings on the ground will be less numerous, as seen in the high-intensity fire of 2016 and also the high-intensity fire sites in this study. This will decrease pitch pine regeneration and also cause dwarf pitch pine to reproduce much less effectively, which will cause potential ecosystem destruction of the pitch pine mountaintop ecosystem and also the extinction of our critically endangered dwarf pitch pine. The goal of the study was to establish what intensity was the most beneficial for pitch pine, and it was found that moderate intensity overall has the best effect on pitch pine regeneration rates. This was not in line with the hypothesis, and the hypothesis was not supported. Moderate intensity fire results that moderate intensity was the best was not consistent with previous studies, but provides a reason for the extremely low seedling numbers seen in the 2016 Minnewaska fire, because the high-intensity fire, as you can see in this image, this is a high-intensity site in the 2016 fire. Really, it shows a lot of devastation of that area and is not as beneficial for pitch pine regeneration. This is the first conclusive data on moderate intensity in the Shawmut Ridge, and there would need to be in the future a long-term study on how, following these seedlings through their growth till adulthood to see how fire intensity at their sprouting really affects that. In order for maximum regeneration to preserve pitch pine for years to come, we should implement moderate intensity prescribed burns. These are feasible and could be carried out by the research teams that already exist in Sam's Point, and these are congruent with advice from the Shawmut Ridge Fire Management Plan. This would protect the pitch pine and also preserve dwarf pitch pine. The pitch pine itself is very economically valuable because it acts as a tourist attraction through Minnewaska State Park, which receives over 1 million visitors per year. And the dwarf pitch pine will have a large ecological value because its ability to withstand stronger soils will be very helpful as we see increased soil degradation, making it a very useful plant in the future. And that is my presentation. Any questions from here?
Yeah. Curious, is this some sort of is this a family of other trees or plants, or is this something completely unique? And I guess furthermore, given the adaptation to need to do this, given all the changes that you identified, moving forward, making it difficult, doesn't seem crazy, I guess. What are the odds that it could adapt further to prevent itself from not existing?
Yeah. So this is very specific to pitch pine. Pitch pine has a lot of other adaptations that I didn't cover. They have very thick bark that withstands fires, and they have the ability, if the entire tree is burned down, to re-sprout from the roots. So this took millions of years for adaptation. This was not a recent phenomenon. The pitch pine would not be able to adapt quickly enough to the changing fire conditions in order to survive this. Yeah.
What did you find rewarding about the process of doing this project, and what would you say to other students who are not sure if they should try it?
It seems like heavier science than it really is. A lot of it was just a lot of hiking and then counting seedlings. Like, it was really fun, honestly. I genuinely enjoyed just, taking a hike every 2 weeks with like some friends for safety and counting some seedlings.
I don't know what kind of trees they have in California compared to pitch pine, but the thing that comes to my mind is after the horrific fires in California, what have you learned in this that tells us how California is going to recover, if anything, from this?
So California has ponderosa pine, which is in the same family, but not quite as fire adapted as this. Ponderosa pine does have similar adaptations. It has a thick bark, but it cannot re-sprout as quickly as pitch pine. Pitch pine has a big advantage in overcoming competition directly after fire. So because ponderosa pine, those seedlings recover worse after fire, they're more likely to be outcompeted and get taken out by invasive species that can just grow faster on a blank slate that fire causes.
Do you have any thoughts about the frequency of fires and how that might play a part in your results?
Yeah, so we, in the Schwalbach Ridge, previously had about 100 years of heavy fire suppression. The fire was suppressed here. It was not suppressed as heavily by any means as what we used to do. It was put out by local fire brigades, which didn't actually end up putting out the fire, and a local rainstorm actually finally finished it off. But fire frequency is absolutely necessary for this ecosystem, and fire frequency of about 25 years to like 15 is the optimal range for specifically pitch pine, as seen in like New Jersey pine barrens. That's what they experience. Questions from the audience?
I'm curious how, when you're finding the different plots for the different heat intensities, how do you account for all the other systems that you can't control, like pitch of the ground or rain or stuff like that, and accounting for the differences there?
Yeah. So the slope of all the fire intensity is only one measurement that I included in this study. There are about 30 different measurements that are taken when Sam's Point catalogs a fire, and for these specific heights, or for these specific sites, the heights of all the trees, the slopes of all the areas, and the slope and also the number of trees were all within 2 or 3 trees of each other, and all the slopes were the same. So there were controlled measures taken for that. Yes. Each actual going out and collecting data took about 7 hours total with drive time and stops. But in terms of research and data altogether, it took about 1,800 hours was when I did math before. It's a little higher now. That was from September. Thank you.
So, how has this affected what you are going to do moving forward, your plans for college, and what do you study?
Well, this shaped my major choice, seeing like fire and how things recover after forest fires made me choose kind of disaster relief engineering, which is helping communities build back after natural disasters. And then placing well in the Regeneron Science Technology Search kind of shifted that to a more academic aspect. So studying how these disasters like function is now where I'm at, and pretty much all because of this study. Okay.
All right. Quick, Ahmed Ramsey, yeah, why don't you come on up? So we've already officially voted to accept your donation, but glad you couldn't make it here. Yeah, do you have anything to say, or? Yeah, why don't you can separate up to the mic there. Yeah, or at the podium.
Good evening, guys. My name is Ahmad Ramzi. I work for Chestnut Market, and I'm their marketing coordinator. Nice to meet you all. Last year, we were running a program called Exxon Pump for a Cause. So every 3 cents per gallon from our transactions across 80 locations, we put a percent of it to a donation towards schools. So this year, your school is on the list, so we were making a donation. And it's actually going to be a yearly program right now. So that's all. Thank you.
I'll get a picture. They're right there.
No, that's amazing.
And the check is getting like, I'm pulling up.
Well done. Good. There we go. One more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much. Sure. 1, 2, 3. Good. All right.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, that takes us to item 9.1, our student representative report.
Is it on? Okay. Hi, everyone. Okay, so the second semester just started on Monday, and the New Paltz Village Mayor spoke to the participation in government class a couple days ago and a week ago. In engineering and design, the class presented their project proposals. The students worked in teams to solve real-world problems of their own choosing. On Friday, the Latino Heritage Club, with the help of administration and teachers, are going to be presenting an informational forum to know your rights. This will be taking place this Friday from 2:30 to 3:30 in the Odeon at the high school. This event is open to all students and faculty who want to learn about this. The high school PTA will also be providing pizza and drinks. And Mr. Castro provided me with this card that I can pass around to all of you, and it provides people with what they should say if someone approaches them. Thank you. That's it.
Thanks so much. Takes us to item 10, superintendent update.
Okay, thank you all for your patience. Lots going on in school. I won't get into all the details, but it's been an interesting few weeks since we've had a change in president, and I sent out an email to the public a couple days ago, maybe it was just yesterday, just reaffirming the support of the district. Although things may change politically nationally, as a school, we do what the New York State Education Department tells us, and We believe they have been very clear on their support of all students, and I want everyone to know that nothing has changed from our perspective. New Paltz Central School District cares about their students and will support them at all times and follow the law. So we hope everybody understands that, and if you have any thoughts or questions you want to share with me or the board, please do so. I have a couple departures worth mentioning later in the agenda. Rebecca Paddock-Stange, who worked in our district office for 4 years, is moving on to Roundup. We want to thank her for her service to the district. And we have a retirement, which is worth mentioning, of course. Candace Kramer works in the elementary school as a speech teacher, and she has 29 years with the district and 31 years overall. So thank you, Candace, for your commitment to our district. It's supposed to snow tomorrow, I've heard, and we have 6 snow days left, and so we're going to be proactive, and we're going to cancel school tomorrow. Yeah, I know you already did, but you weren't supposed to read your email, Kurt. So no school tomorrow, but here's the reason we're announcing it the night before, because we don't do that very often. The reason is because there is a Wizards basketball game tomorrow night. It is highly unusual to have after-school activities on a snow day, but we're in a position where we don't want to lose a lot of money for the district or for the people paying to watch the Wizards. End of the snow is supposed to start around noon, or end around noon, excuse me. So, no school tomorrow, and as long as the snow ends around noon, the Wizards game is still on, so that's bad news for the Wizards because they're going to lose. So, that's my report.
All right. Takes us to 10.2, the approval of the 2025-2026 school calendar. Can I get a motion for the approval of the calendar? Motion.
We're going to discuss, right?
Yeah.
Motion made.
Second.
All right, discussion.
I'm just wondering why there were 7 days left this year, emergency days, and why we're reducing to 6.
No particular reason, other than that we have more each year. We get more required holidays, and so we try to put them in the places that make the most sense. For instance, after January, after the Christmas break, this year I think it came out it was on a Wednesday. The first was on the Wednesday, so it made some sense to have school on Thursday and Friday. But next year the day will be on a Thursday, so to have one day of school during the week is a bad idea because lots of people won't come. So in that case, we decided to take 2 days. Is that right? No, taking one day after January. I don't know exactly what I was trying to say there, but we figured those things in there, and so I know it was, because this year we didn't take the Friday off. Next year we will take the Friday off. So those are the decisions that go into the calendar throughout, and it just came out to be 6. We could easily make it 7, but we'd have to take a day away somewhere else. And last year we only used maybe 3 or 4 days, and this year we've only used 1, so I think we'll be fine with 6 days.
Are all the days given back, or how does that, if you schedule for 7 days and if you use 1, how does that affect the calendar?
Actually, it's at the bottom of the calendar. It tells you exactly what the makeup days will be, and we kind of just tack them on to vacations, and we're also reserving one for June 5th. In the event that it's an excessive heat day, we'll have that day if we need it. So if we get to the end of the time and we still have 1 snow day left, it'll be June 5th. That's what we did this year. We saved it till the Friday before the week before Regents exams. Are you comfortable with 6 days?
I'm just, what do you guys think?
In the past, how many years could you report how many days that we used?
I can't go back very far, but I can tell you that around here we take snow days frequently, but not so frequently that it's been a problem. We tend to do a lot of early release days, which I dislike very much because we don't ever get that time back. I prefer snow days, but I don't think we have had a problem since I've been here or in recent history of going over those snow days.
I noticed that the first Give Back Day is June 5th. Is that because, so you would think, oh, maybe the first Give Back Day would be more like something attached to Memorial Day weekend versus the 5th, which I don't see as being, I don't know why the 5th is chosen, but I'm assuming it's because, it just gives us as much time as possible for there to be a reason to close school and not have it. Do you know what I'm trying to say? It's the later in the year that first Give Back Day occurs, the less chance that there'll be some kind of unexpected event in May or something like that that would cause us to need a cancellation day. Does that make sense? Do you know what I'm asking?
Well, I'll answer it.
Why do we have the 5th as our first Give Back Day? That's my question.
It's not. It's your last Give Back Day. So if you Give Back Days, if you use 5 days, we're keeping June 5th for the last one.
Oh, I see.
So
okay.
June 5th is the last one.
Is the final, okay.
Yeah, so we're just basically just holding on to June 5th.
Till the bitter end.
Till the bitter end. Not that we think it's going to snow or anything, but we think it might be really hot. So. And then the others get tacked on to exam vacations. You are not obligated to make a decision tonight if you want to ponder it more, but I think we're fairly safe. We hit all the required holidays. We hit all the holidays that we want to have. Sure would like to have December 23rd off, but
it's
not high priority. Yeah. But you're sort of getting it on the other end, like I was saying, that you don't get the 2 days before Christmas, but now you get an extra day after Christmas break, so it's kind of the same. And I'd like to say Lunar New Year fell very nicely because Lunar New Year is right next to President's Day, so you get 2 days. From my perspective, I always look at this and think, how can I get more kids to come to school? And so when I look at the fact that those are not random days, like having a day in the middle of the week this year for Lunar New Year is not optimal, but having it tacked on so that it's now a 4-day weekend is great.
Anybody need more time? Or? All right. All in favor of the proposed changes?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Right, that takes us to our first public comments. All right, so we'll go over the guidelines. There'll be a public comment sign-up sheet at each board meeting. Persons wishing to address the board should sign in with their name and town of residence prior to the start of the meeting. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to present their comment. In-person public comment will conclude at the end of 30 minutes. Speakers will be called to present their comments in the order in which they've been signed up. The board requests that the first public comment period be limited to comments on agenda items only. The second public comment period will be open to comment on non-agenda items. If a member of the public wishes to submit a public comment via email, emails must be received by the district clerk no later than 12 p.m. on the day of the board meeting. The individual may request that their comments be read aloud at the meeting. Comments read aloud will be read in the order in which they were received and will be read after in-person public comment has concluded. In the interest of time, emailed comments read aloud may be limited, and when feasible, written public comments received via email that are not read aloud will be printed and made available at the meeting for public review and upon request of the district clerk. Board President reserves the right to limit remarks from the public which are repetitive or offensive. Comments submitted by email that are repetitive in nature may be summarized. Public comment may not identify any person by name or position. Comments submitted by minors that contain sensitive information will not be read aloud or made available for public review. Public comments are not meant to be a dialogue, but rather a time for the board to hear comments from the public. At the conclusion of the public comment period, the board may, at their discretion, offer comments or ask clarifying questions related to the topics or issues raised by members of the public. All right, Ms. Posey? Given what we're talking about, the capital project in form of the exit survey, you can go.
Okay. Actually, I'm reading a comment from Jim O'Dowd. I think he tried to send it in through.
He succeeded, but.
Oh, did he?
We'd love to hear from you.
Okay. Either way, but at any rate, I can read it for him.
Yeah, go ahead.
You have it? Okay. Dear school board members and Superintendent Grotto, the school board vote still leaves the school short of an upgrade of its athletic and sports facilities with no provisions for sustainable energy upgrades of solar panels and air source heat pumps. We need both. Without the controversial artificial turf, and with the inclusion of solar panels, as well as replacing regular air conditioning with more energy-efficient, dual-purpose air source heat pumps, the revised Proposition 2 could be supported by the environmental community and the sports community. Healthier kids on a healthy planet is a win-win for everyone. I sort of changed a few words in there. There is so much bad news in the world, and the last thing we want to hear is more comments about climate change. The fires in Los Angeles are just the latest sign that rising temperatures from burning fossil fuels is destabilizing our planet with ever-intensifying storms, floods, drought, and melting ice caps. Schools of all institutions must be tuned into this crisis since its children will face the brunt of the consequences of ignoring the problem. SUNY New Paltz has solar panels, and there are plans for the firehouse and police station to install solar panels. And those contracts are actually in the process of being signed off on as we speak. The Reformed Church and Lutheran churches in New Paltz both have solar panels, which have proven to be efficient and cost-saving. They will work for the district. If the school board incorporates energy efficiencies, I believe the community at large will enthusiastically support these upgrades. And so my comment is just to add to what he said, and that I think it would benefit the school as well as the community to add a sustainability clause, or pledge at least, where we would look at those energy saving projects, look at projects with an eye towards energy savings, as well as toward the dollars. And I think you will find, if you got an honest appraisal of some of these energy saving projects, you will save money.
Right, takes us to item 12. Board committee reports. 12.1, policy committee, yes.
Okay, so the policy committee met on the 22nd, and just in the interest of time, I'm going to focus my report out on the policies that are going to become recommended to the BOE. So the first of those is 7240, student records, access and challenge. We had no changes to that policy. 7241, student directory information. We had no changes to that. 7242, military recruiters and institutions of higher education. We discussed the extent to which New Paltz students are recruited for the military, but overall we don't have any changes to this policy, so we're recommending that the board take a look and pass it. 7270, rights of non-custodial parents. This policy was pretty much boilerplate, just restating the laws. So there's no changes. We recommend the board pass that policy. 7311, loss or destruction of district property or resources. We discussed the language. You'll see it in the policy. It says real or personal property in the care or custody of the district, and we just discussed what exactly does that clause refer to. If it's not something that belongs to the district, something that's in the care of the custody of the district, we were just we went around on that for a little bit. But overall, we decided not to change the policy and recommend that BOE pass it. Okay, moving to 7313, the suspension of students. This is a long and really comprehensive policy. We discussed provisions at length and compared to our current policies to ensure that it's coherent with what we currently
current procedures to ensure that it's coherent with what we currently do in the district, and it is. So we recommend the BOE pass this policy without changes. 7315, Student Computer Network and Internet Acceptable Use Policy. So we talked about the ramifications of student internet use and the inherent risks thereof. And this policy is interesting. These policies come from Erie 1 BOCES, so they've been thoroughly vetted and they're recommended to school districts. This policy states that it's impossible to completely prevent access to content or material that may be considered inappropriate for students, which, you would hope that we would be able to prevent our students from accessing content or material that's not appropriate for them. But I think this is, at least from Erie 1 BOCES perspective, the unfortunate reality of if you're going to allow access to the internet through your network, through your district, that it's impossible to completely filter out everything that's inappropriate or could be considered offensive. So given that, it's hard to recommend that the BOE pass this policy, but I don't understand, like the committee discussed, how can we allow students to access the internet in a way that is completely safe? And the fact is, no district can. So at least that's stated in our policy. I don't know. So we recommend the BOE pass this policy, but you might want to give that one, 7315, the Student Computer Network and Acceptable Use Policy, a very careful look over. 7316, Student Use of Personal Technology. We removed unnecessary or inapplicable language, and we recommend that the BOE pass this edited version of the policy. 7320, Alcohol, Tobacco, Drugs, and Other Substances for Students. We edited it to specifically reference vapes. We added a designee for providing information on substance use-related services, and we recommend that the BOE pass the edited version of the policy. 7330, Searches and Interrogations of Students. We added a provision for searching vehicles parked on school property, and we recommend the BOE pass the edited version of that policy. So that's what we got coming up.
All right. That takes us to item 13, policy review.
Okay. Do you want me to run this review?
Yeah, no, I have
that. Okay. So the first read that we have here is, first up, let's look at 6410, Staff Acceptable Use Policy. Do you want to run? I'm sorry. Taking the motion.
Yeah, if you're familiar with changes. So do we want to, so given that this is a first read from a previously tabled meeting, or meeting where we tabled these, are we passing the first read? Or I'm sorry, passing the second read, and we'll just...
That's what we're recommending. Yeah. That's what the policy committee recommends, unless somebody has an addition or a deletion.
Yeah, that's fine.
Waiving the second read.
Any comments on 6410? All right, can I get a motion to approve policy 6410, Staff Acceptable Use Policy, waiving the second read?
Motion made.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, yeah, so let's go straight down.
Yeah.
All right, can I get a motion for, I guess it doesn't have an ID yet. Can I get a motion to approve sick leave transfer upon change in bargaining unit policy, waiving the second read?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion for policy 6550, leaves of absence, waiving the second read. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion for 6551, Family Medical Leave Act, waiving the second read.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do I have to go each individually, or can we go the whole grouping and do the section 13.1?
You could do it, if you don't think there's a lot of conversation.
So given that we've had the opportunity to review these, does anybody have any discussion items for any of the policies in this list? In that case, then can I get a motion to approve all the policies listed in item 13.1, waiving their second reads?
Wait, I'm going to interrupt.
Sure.
So you're approving 7131 through 7222. The next few have a different.
Right, so I guess it would be all the recommendations. So approvals, deletions, and not adopting based on the recommendations of the policy committee. Sorry, is there a motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Who seconded that?
Do we need to say for 13.2?
I personally, I'd prefer to table these just so that the board hasn't had a chance to really review them.
Right. All right. So we'll take. So we're going to table 13.2 and not have the discussion tonight, given we've got a lot ahead in this meeting. So take those home, and then we'll likely go through the same acceptance in a future meeting. Right. Takes us to item 14.1. Can I please get a motion to accept the claims audit report for December 2024?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I please get a motion for item 14.2 to accept the treasurer's report for November and December 2024?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Section 15, minutes of meeting. Can I please get a motion for item 15.1 to accept the minutes of the business meeting December 18th, 2024? All in favor?
Aye.
Can I please get a motion for 15.2 to accept the minutes of the special workshop meeting of January 8th, 2025?
Motion made. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Takes us to item 15.3. Can I please get a motion to accept the minutes of the meeting of January 15th, 2025?
Motion made.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Takes us to section 16, personnel consent agenda. Can I please get a motion to approve items of the personnel consent agenda 17.1 through 18.5? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Takes us to item 19, people, personnel, services, and special education. Can I please get a motion for item 19.1, the approval of educational consultant and independent contractor agreement with Empire Neuropsychological Services, PLLC?
Motion made. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Takes us to item 19.2. Can I please get a motion for 19.2 for the approval of committee on special education recommendations and student placements?
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Takes us to new business. Approval of the bond resolution. Can I get a motion for the approval of the bond resolution outlined in the item?
Motion made.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Item 20.2. Can I please get a motion for an acceptance donation of an Optimus electric keyboard and Takamine guitar from Annalise Morderst? Oh, did I got the name?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I get a motion for item 20.3, the approval of health and welfare tuition 2024-2025?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can I please get a motion for item 20.4 for the approval of establishment of student scholarship award. This is for the New Paltz Photo Works Photography Scholarship in the amount of $100 to be awarded to a graduating senior who has an interest in photography as selected by Mr. Martin and the art teachers.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And then can I get a motion for item 20.5, the approval of to accept bullet aid?
Motion made. Second.
Steve, you just want to touch on this real quick?
Yeah, bullet aid is state money that comes, I guess, at the request of a legislator or a legislative body. My experience with bullet aid in the past at other schools has been, if you have a special project, you call your legislator and you say, boy, we really need some money for this. And sometimes they give it to you and sometimes they don't. And it's bullet aid as it is focused on one particular project. However, this is bullet aid that was given to us with no strings attached, $50,000. And so it'll increase the amount of money that we spend this year because we have the revenue to spend it. And so we have a few projects that we anticipate spending the $50,000 on.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Takes us to the second public comment. Nobody signed up. Takes us to item 22, board communications and other discussions. 22.1, bond proposition vote results and discussion of capital projects. Steve.
Okay, it's going to take me a second to find my slideshow.
Perfect.
You know where it is, yeah. Is it a PowerPoint?
Perfect time. How you doing that? So.
All right, so we had a capital project vote, and you just approved the results, and it makes sense to go back and look at the results of the exit survey. So here we go. These are the results of the exit survey. We want to see how many people came from outside the school family to within it, and we had 825 people take the survey. So that's about a quarter of the people who actually voted, because you had about 3,000. And so 58% of the people who took the exit survey did not have children in the district. And we wanted to know if they were, the age, if we had a lot of retired people who came up, because one of the comments that was made throughout the process was people were afraid that the retired people who maybe aren't here all the time might not vote. So I was pleased to see that 37% of the people who were 56 or older. So we feel like we did a good job getting the vote out at all levels. So the final vote for Proposition 1 was 61%. The people who took this survey voted at 75%. They voted yes. So they were more favorable to Proposition 1 than the average person who took the vote, who participated in the vote. And if you look at what they liked and what they did not like, they kind of liked everything. Certainly LED lights was a big winner. Window and door upgrades, high school boiler upgrades, these were the big ones. Kind of goes to show that the people who voted, or at least took part in the survey, were energy-minded and environmentally in favor of good things. So nothing particularly did poorly here. I guess the lowest thing was the home bleachers and the press box. Now these are all things that actually passed, so all these things will come to fruition. And again, we've had people say, what are home bleachers? What are bleachers doing in this necessity category? And the answer is our building condition survey. We were told that the home bleachers were no longer up to code. They weren't falling apart, they weren't unsafe, but they were something that needed to be replaced because you can't have those anymore. So we look forward to upgrading the locker rooms, and while we're doing it, we're going to put in a press box and some bathrooms, because if you're going to have a stadium with that many seats, it sure would be nice to have bathrooms over there. So thank you very much to the public for voting for Proposition 1. That is not a small deed. To get a proposition passed of $17 million is significant, and we really do appreciate that. Many may have their opinions on whether this was a successful vote or one gentleman referred to it as a fiasco. All I can say is thank you very much. We're super excited to have this pass, and we appreciate the voters' support. Let's look at Proposition 2, which did not pass. 64% of people voted no, and out of those people who took this, only 56 voted no. So keep that in mind as you look at the results about to come up. The people who took this exit survey were actually more positively disposed, more in favor of Proposition 2 than the average person who participated in the vote. So what was popular, what was not? Well, the answer is artificial turf was not popular. So even with this slightly positive group, only 28.5% people supported artificial turf. So artificial turf had a very difficult chance of passing, and it did not pass. And Proposition 2 did not pass, largely in part because of artificial turf. Some things were popular. Air conditioning in the middle school and the high school auditoriums were the most popular items. Give you a second to look at that. Moving on. And Proposition 3 did not pass. And where did they get the most information from? Postcards and the 8-page newsletter were the big winners. I was dismayed to see that 50% of the people got their information from social media. Not always the most accurate place to go, but we're working on getting all the information out we can. And there you go. That's your exit survey.
So I guess any comments that I've got, obviously, I think there's items in number 2 that we would have liked. Obviously the future of that is unknown, but I think there's things in that list that we need to figure out how to address in some capacity. Things like the scoreboard. So as we approach budget season, figuring out how and where we would fund things like that. And then in terms of field use, probably the number one comment, against turf is, regardless of how weathered and much rest those fields need between uses, get kids on them. So I think we should see what we need to do to get more kids on those fields.
Okay.
Any comments or thoughts? I think also probably another big question out there is, what are we going to do next? I'll speak for myself. I can't imagine revisiting this before we get into budget season, as we are in budget season. So, I guess if there's a question of, is this going to get voted on again during the budget vote, I can't imagine putting something up again so soon.
I agree with that. I certainly think there's wiggle room. Our athletic facilities need to be improved. So there's a lot of discussion that needs to take place, and looking into a grass field and fields, scoreboard, all that type of stuff. It's important, but I think that's for starting over the summer.
Another thing too is I had asked Deb, and she got back to us really quickly about if we spent money from the annual budget on some of these capital items, would they be reimbursable at the same rate? And the answer is no. So the benefit to putting forth a capital vote is the aid comes back, but if you spend it out of your budget, it doesn't. So, thank you, Jack. Yeah.
I know we have our new facilities manager who's done a great job, and I'm just wondering how many teams get to play under the lights at this point in the Floyd Patterson field?
Just home football games for varsity.
Well, I'm not going to set the schedule, but if Mike has some expertise and experience and he can get that field maybe good for opportunities for other teams, I think that would be pretty great.
Yeah, I agree. Now, we discussed this, I believe, the last meeting, right? They were going to line the field for lacrosse.
I don't recall. I might have.
Yeah.
But if that's what you're...
I think that it didn't come up, maybe. But if not, I'll bring it up now. I want all our kids on that field, as much as possible. Yeah. So I would love to see a line for lacrosse. I don't know how the rest of the field done it.
Yeah, what kind of beating does the field take if you increase the amount by X, right?
Yeah.
Is there a cutoff where it's like you can increase by this much, you can have this many games of soccer or lacrosse, but beyond that, we're going to have serious divots, and you're in injury.
I think it's serious divots and injury now.
Is there a cost associated with keeping the field healthier, considering increasing use? All the questions out of that.
I see no reason why we can't have lacrosse play some home games on that field. I don't think we should open it up for practices, for sure. There's practice fields, but I do believe the lacrosse can start playing some home games there, in my opinion.
I'd also like to know how important the drainage was. There were 2 line items for drainage on the fields, and they were rather low compared to some of the other asks. I'm wondering what kind of difference that would make.
It's a good question. As we put forth a proposed budget, we bring you some ideas. We will see what we can do from Proposition 2 within the budget. It's going to be a difficult budget year, so perhaps not that much, but we will give you that information and allow you to have some choices to make.
Yeah, my take on when I saw the results, and especially looking over the exit survey data, which I'm really glad that we have, even though it doesn't represent the whole community, obviously, but it's a start. I noticed that from Proposition 2, the most popular items that had more than 60% support, the only 2 items that had more than 60% support were air conditioning. So I think that's, a message to us to prioritize AC. And the least popular items from both Proposition 1 and Proposition 2 were associated with athletics. And just reading through all the comments, just for those who did take the survey, I read every single comment in every single column. So if you wrote something on that survey, I read it. And I think, I don't want to speak for the board, but I'm assuming a lot of us spend a lot of time reading those comments. So I didn't take it lightly. I really wanted to understand what the community was telling us. And some of the major takeaways that I had was, first and foremost, voters want us to be more fiscally frugal. They don't want us to spend tax money unless it's necessary. So that was a major message that I heard. And then I did hear quite a strong message of not supporting athletics. I mean, to put it bluntly, if you look at what people selected as least popular, it was always athletics. Now, to some extent, I've lived in New Paltz my entire life. I grew up here. I think New Paltz does see itself as an arts community, as a community that's more inclined that way than toward athletics. But somebody at the facilities meeting that I sat in on made a really great point, and they said, it's not about the jocks versus the art kids in New Paltz. Our kids are well-rounded and everybody participates in everything. And as a board, we want to encourage our students to be well-rounded and participate holistically in all of the offerings that we have. So I don't like seeing it as a binary, sort of, as like, are we athletics people or aren't we? I think we can be it all if we're smart about where we put our resources. So that's my take on it. So I think we definitely, I agree with, maximizing the use of these fields and then seeing, how far we get with them. I think that the vision that the board had of the football stadium, of that Floyd Patterson complex as being a resource not only for the football team, but for our entire community to gather and to support our students, I'm not sure that message reached the community given the lack of support for our athletics. But I think it's a very beautiful vision.
I agree.
All right. So is there anything else? Move on to 22.2, Facilities Committee report and discussion, possibility for closing Duzine.
This way? We're actually presenting to the board. Yes, we're here.
You could each grab a microphone off the end, so you can each have a microphone. I don't have a clicker. I can do it for you, though.
Oh, okay. That works.
Right. I got it. Forget it.
Joe Londa, I'm a community member on the Facilities Committee, resident of the town of New Paltz. So obviously this is an important and sobering subject we're going to cover, and you will see in it the analysis that supports the recommendations that we're making to the board. Hopefully they'll answer many of the questions that came up during the comments tonight. If advance. So the recommendations, and followed by the analysis, is basically that we are recommending to close the Duzine Elementary School at the end of the 25-26 school year, consolidate pre-K through 4th at the Lenape Elementary School, and 5 through 8 in the middle school for the 26-27 school year. In addition, we would want to expand the Lenape playground over the summer of 2026. You would offer the Duzine building for either sale or lease. Some additional further study is needed for the transportation changes to understand the Lenape routes for both efficiency and effectiveness to transport all of the students in the now consolidated elementary school. We would also recommend utilizing the Lenape parking lot renovation project to expand the bus capacity and parking sites at the Lenape Elementary School. And finally, it's important that we develop a contingency classroom solution to address the possibility of student growth that would add elementary sections. The important point is that we're adding sections because that drives the classrooms. Next page. So just as some background information, the Duzine building is 62 years old. It has had investment in it and maintenance, but not like the scale of the middle school investment. So it's about a 62-year-old building. Next page. It's also the smallest building in the district at 70,000 square feet. We have seen decline in the enrollment from the mid-teen years in 2015, 16, 17, down to where we are today, of about 1/3 of the population. I think we're at 1,675 students, I think is the current number, or they're very close to that. It's important to recognize that that 1/3 reduction is still really only seen in the elementary grades. It hasn't advanced all of its way through to the full school district, meaning the high school grades. And you can see that on this chart. If you look at the enrollment, you can see that the K through 5 grades have declined. You can see that in past years and in current year, we are forecasting that we'll continue to see the kinds of smaller classes, 100 children in kindergarten. Every year that we bring in a class, a kindergarten of 100, we lose some students from the graduating class. So you can see 163 is in 25-26 is poised to graduate. We bring in 100, which is a net reduction of 63. So as long as that trend continues, we'll continue to see a reduction in the total demographics of the school district. Next page. These numbers really represent themselves in terms of classrooms use, in terms of sections. And the sections are also really derive the number of children per class. And you can see on this chart that we basically, in the past, 23-24, we had 38 sections. Currently, we have 37 sections in K through 6. And you can see the average classroom size, the average classrooms of those 5 sections. You can also note that the 5 sections are moving forward. So we'll be progressing those 5 sections into 4th grade next, and that will continue as long as we only have 5 sections for kindergarten. So you can see the trend on class size and on the number of sections that we need in the future. In terms of the use or the need for classrooms, Duzine currently has in use 20 classrooms, regular classrooms, as well as special classrooms. Lenape has 18 classrooms in use, both regular classrooms and special classrooms. So together that means we need a total of 38 full-size classrooms to accommodate this consolidation. Where could we get those? And that's the major question that we're answering in the analysis is, how can we accommodate the consolidation in terms of having sufficient classrooms, and of course, what would be the cost savings, and we'll present that later in the presentation as well. The way we get to the consolidation, part of the way that we get to the consolidation, is that we integrate co-taught classes in Duzine and Lenape. Each class, some of these classes today, the co-taught classrooms, take advantage of available classrooms because of our underutilization in Lenape. So we would bring those back together, and that would free up 6 classrooms in Lenape by doing that. That's part of our solution. Next page, please. We also have 3 full-size classrooms that are available. These could also be freed up for additional classrooms. I'm confusing the next page with this page. We're using full-size classrooms for the specialty classes, the AIS, MSR, and the speech. We don't have to use full-size classrooms for those. We have available smaller rooms that they could fit in, and that frees up 3 rooms. So that's part of our solution, is using our smaller classrooms. And then we have also in Lenape 3 classrooms across from the library that are larger group instructions, and those are available for sign-up. One of them is the sensory room. There's still one room that we would preserve, which is a very large, I should know the PLTW stands for, but Project Lead the Way, thank you. We would preserve that classroom for larger group instruction. So freeing up the other 3 classrooms brings another 3 into the solution. So with those changes in Lenape, we would get 23 full-size. We would get 23 full-size classrooms in Lenape. 10 would be on the first floor and 23 on the second floor. So that's 33 classrooms, but we're solving for 38. So we're still 5 rooms short. Where would we get the 5 rooms that we need? That would come from, next page, moving 5th grade to the middle school. So we would create a 5th grade elementary wing in the middle school. They would be all grouped together and only share the common spaces when they're in those common use situations. They would continue to be taught in the same mode as elementary, so they would not be using the middle school classroom sessions. That would free up 5 classrooms in Lenape, and that brings us to a fit of basically 33 plus 5 gives us our 38 classrooms that we're solving for. What this leaves us with those changes is with 560 students in Lenape pre-K through grade 4, 485 students in the middle school, 5 through 8, and then 598 students in the high school. It's interesting to look backwards, yes. No.
I do want to make one point. I did go back into 2000, 2001, the New York State report card. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. But this is an important point. Looking backwards, if we go back in time to 2000, it's good to have the comparison. So in 2000, Duzine had 510 students, and of course that was only K through 2. We now are at 306 plus the additional 3 pre-K classes. It gives you an interesting perspective to see that comparison. Likewise, in Lenape, we had 601 students back in 2000, 3 through 5, and we're now at 368. Middle school was 568, now 379 students. And the high school was 712, 9 through 12, and it's now 626. Keeping in mind that the smaller classes haven't advanced all the way through to the high school yet. So we're going to see more reduction at the high school. Well, what if we need to grow? What if we do see growth, an increase? Suppose we get to 120 kindergartners joining. So what would we do? Some of the possibilities is to use the district office space. We have a couple of different spaces there, the district conference room, conference room, as well as moving the technology and the special education area out of the district office and leveraging that space for classrooms. So we think there is a solution there to accommodate a degree of growth. So the question has been raised, well, why not move the district office out of Lenape and keep the 5th grade in Lenape? Now, the pros and cons of that is that, well, it would take money it doesn't take any money to put the 5th grade in the middle school because the facilities are there and can accommodate the 5th graders. It would cost money to move the district office someplace else, as well as to convert the district office space back to a full-fledged elementary school environment. So there's money to be spent both to move the district office as well as to retrofit the district office space today. It is an option in the future that if we had to move the district office, you could leverage that if needed, but for now, it's not necessary. That's down to the last two. Did I cover everything? Yeah. Very good. Thank you. Some specialty areas. The gymnasium, we think that there is a solution there. Pre-K to 4th basically is self-contained and has 33 sections. If you use 9 periods over in a 6-day cycle, you have 54 openings. Because they doubled up the gym sessions, that gives us 108 openings basically. With 33 sessions, which is what the consolidated school would be, at 3 classes per cycle, we would have a requirement for 99 gym openings. So it appears that it does fit within the gymnasium space. Cafeteria and recess. The most important thing to know, several different things to know. Currently, we have 18 classes go through the cafeteria per day. They split the 40 minutes, 20 minutes on recess, and 20 minutes in the cafeteria. They also start lunches at 11:40 a.m., so it's not a terribly bad starting time. It does go to 1:30 p.m., which depends on your appetite, I suppose. And it basically accommodate about 50 students at one time. But it can accommodate more by adding the additional tables and chairs that would be needed. So it's really constrained not by the physical space, but by the equipment that's in the cafeteria.
I did look, and the capacity of that cafeteria is about 350 people.
Wow. So we also could, as part of the solution, in addition to bringing in additional tables and chairs, we could also start lunches earlier as well. To spend more time for eating, and we would also want to do something with the playground area to accommodate the smaller children. So that would be part of what we would need to develop as a solution in the playground. We currently split the time for art and library between Lenape and Duzine. Obviously, by bringing it together, we would no longer have to do that, although there are concerns like what do you do with the stacks, the consolidated stacks? How do you solve for the space that we have in Lenape with a consolidated library? So something to look at. And art would not be a problem either way. With that, I will turn it over to the facilities director.
Good evening, guys. I'm Mike Loeb, Director of Facilities. So this is the bus runs. Arrival for Lenape, they got approximately 14 regular runs, 2 special ed runs. Duzine, similar, 13 regular runs, 3 special ed runs, 1 McKinney-Vento run. The afternoon, 14 regular runs, 2 special ed runs. And you can see similar with Duzine, 12 regular runs, 13 special eds, 1 McKinney-Vento. So the transportation department estimates that they could eliminate approximately 4 bus runs if we consolidate Duzine and Lenape. This would mean that we would go from 16 buses to 29 buses at Lenape. So we'd have to do some changes there. Bus parking, it's going to get busy. We need to go from 16 buses to 29 buses. We would need a system for the parents to efficiently drop off the students and pick them up. We would also need more parking to accommodate twice the teachers and the aides. Fortunately, Proposition 1 passed. That leaves us with a little over $2 million to reconfigure the parking lot at Lenape. Like I said earlier, we have to pick up more spaces for not only the cars, but the buses. There's currently what it looks like. Currently the parent drop-off, they come and they hug all the way to the right, they go to the back of the parking lot, they swing around, they drop their students off along the building there on the sidewalk. The buses pull straight in front of the building and do the drop-off and pick up there. With making more spots for the cars, the additional parking, and the additional load of all the parent drop-offs, we've asked, you can go to the next one, please. We've asked H2M to seriously look at the parking and reconfiguring and make that their top priority. Going forward with the next steps of the capital project, letters of intent are signed. The projects will be grouped in logical fashion. Pre-design will be conducted. Scope of work will be finalized within the budget. All the projects will be submitted to the state for approval. Again, we had a meeting with H2M and said we really need to take a hard look at the parking and reconfiguring for the additional buses and additional drop-offs. And that whole project would seriously need to be done by the end of the summer for 2026. Deb?
Thank you. Deb Kaczynski, the Assistant Superintendent for Business. So if we were to close Duzine, we would be saving quite a bit of money on our annual budget. And the savings would be every single year. It wouldn't be a one-time savings. So what we would do with some staffing is the teachers and aides, we would most likely not reduce any of them. We would just take all those classes and move them over into Lenape. There would be a reduction of 1 administrator, 2 secretarial staff members. There would be a reduction in cafeteria and facility staff, a reduction of 1 nurse, a reduction in transportation because we're reducing 4 bus runs, so that would be 4 bus drivers. And that's a preliminary estimation from the transportation department is 4 bus runs. We haven't done the actual going through and grade advancing the students and seeing what we could do. So most likely we could reduce more than 4 runs, but at this point we're working with 4 runs. And we will have a reduction in the electric, gas, water, trash pickup, mowing, snow removal, work orders, things like that we actually do at Duzine. This is a summary of our savings per year. With the administrative and staff, it would be about $857,000. Transportation, including the bus drivers and fuel costs, it would be about $207,000. And facilities costs, this does not include work orders and man hours to do all the work orders and to do mowing and snow removal. We would be saving about $75,000. So the savings to the annual budget would be about $1.1 million.
We're working on the potential cost savings for man hours. You think you add up, going there mowing the place, weed whacking with the mowers and 3 guys and taking care of that. Snowstorms, there's some contractual things that we have, maintaining the boilers, and you start factoring all the projects that we do down there, and like Deb said, the work orders, that number could easily exceed 50,000 a year.
One of the things, this is the annual savings we would save in our budget. We have not added the cost for things like moves into this yet, but there would be one-time costs for moving of staff.
10-year, $100,000 a year, if we sold Duzine on state aid or building aid.
Yes, so one of the decisions that we'll get to that. So one of the decisions that the board needs to make is, should we lease or rent Duzine, or should we sell it? So Mike Logue was kind enough to get a realtor to give us an estimate on what we could possibly get for Duzine, and they're saying that we could get about $5 to $5.5 million for Duzine. The full market value is $8 million, but it really depends on the economy, who's out there looking for a school building. It all really depends. We could also, another option is lease Duzine. So one advantage of leasing Duzine is that we currently get building aid on Duzine, and we get about $100,000 a year. If we lease it, we will continue to get that $100,000 a year through the 34-35 school year when the building aid ends. If we sell it, we forego that money. Currently, what I did was I looked to see what BOCES was paying other districts for facilities similar to our Duzine, and BOCES is leasing Anna Devine from the Kingston City School District. Anna Devine is about 50,000 square feet, and they pay Kingston $70,000 a year. And with that dollar amount, they do a lot of renovations in there. They won't repair a boiler, something major, but if they needed something done and reconfigured, they paid the cost of that. Comparing it, our Duzine is about 70 square feet, and we would get roughly $98,000 a year from a scenario like this. And one of the other things that it's been a concern is community use of the gym at Duzine. So one of the things about leasing it is that we would still be able to have the community use the gym space. Any questions, comments?
Thanks for the report out. I guess, so if we were, the district office was to be vacated and we kept the 5th grade there, we already, when you showed the slide, Lenape already had the most kids. So keeping the 5th grade there would just increase that even more. I think that there's a lot to talk about here. There are definitely some things that need to be worked out. I definitely like the idea, if this was to happen, of keeping a nurse in like a 5th and 6th grade wing at the middle school. Like a plan for how things were going to work throughout the day. Is it going to make, I don't know, we just got to disseminate everything to the public. When are kids getting picked up for school, when they're going to get home? How long are the bus routes? Are they going to be extended? Kids getting home later? Are they going to have to get to the bus earlier?
Yeah, I'd be more curious too about more in-depth details about bus runs.
Yep.
The
5th graders on the bus with high schoolers, that's a concern.
Yeah.
I know what happens, and I did it, and Liz is probably the same way, right?
Well, I lived with high schoolers when I was a little kid, so
Yeah.
I was exposed.
But this is a concern that we gotta talk about.
And if we introduce more bus runs to alleviate that issue, we would still probably be a net positive on savings from transportation still.
Mm-hmm.
The library seems like a big question as well.
Yeah.
My question about the library is, I'm sure, I don't know to what extent, but I'm sure there are duplicates of these titles. I don't know, I'm just curious, looking at the two libraries' collections, how many of those titles are duplicated and how many of those duplicated titles, do you want duplicates of? Because they're popular books. I'm looking at Dogman in particular. So I'm just curious, I think that's definitely a great question and worth looking into to see exactly what we're talking about here.
How do we even go about figuring that out? Yes, we have that data.
Yeah, we have our collections electronically.
And I know it's early days, but there were some concerns about bringing, pre-K, the smaller students into Lenape and what type of facilities, kind of upgrades you would need to do in Lenape for that, bathrooms and things. I'm just wondering if that's been thought about a little bit also.
Too early for that just yet.
Any sort of record from, I don't even know what year it stopped, but fifth grade being in middle school, and how many total kids were in the building then when it was housing fifth grade students?
The year that Lenape was built was around 1992. The first class entered, I believe, in 1992. Now, what was your second part of the question? How big was the middle school prior to that? Great question. I don't know the answer. Classes ran, I don't know exactly for the 90s, but I'm going to guess somewhere around 180 students, 175, something like that.
I had 180 in my class in 1987.
One thing that we didn't bring up, but was certainly a factor when the fifth graders were in the middle school, is that band and chorus rehearsals occurred before school. So if you were in band or chorus, you did that, you came to school earlier than the other students to do your band and your chorus. So I don't know why that was at the time. I don't know if it was a space issue or what.
I'm wondering about Project Lead the Way, which happens with fifth grade.
5th through 12th.
So right now we have an entire room used for Project Lead the Way at Lenape, but if fifth graders were relocated, was that part of the room opening plan? Would it be offered therefore to younger kids? Or have them Project Lead the Way? I should have thought of that sooner.
So we can come back with information on that one. Yeah, and then,
Well, on all of these things, you should continue to give me questions, and we'll get you answers. And we already got a lot of questions, from the community forum, so there's no shortage of questions.
Are we keeping any data on how often the Millbrook Preserve is actually used by our students? Is that housed anywhere that was brought up as a concern? I know my kids haven't been at all this year, but they have been more often in previous years. It just seems to depend on which teacher they get.
One of the things we may be able to do, if we lease Duzine, whether it's to BOCE's town or whatever, we may be able to still take field trips there from Lenape over there, so that they're not right there at Duzine, but they'll still be able to take field trips.
I mean, there's so many important things that we're talking about closing the school. We all have different ideas about things, and that's important. We all bring different perspectives. The possibility of our kids not using Millbrook Preserve is almost a deal breaker for me. I mean, we have to do something in Duzine. Seriously, look at closing the building. We have to be able to stay there and have field trips. The thought of selling Duzine, I mean, at first I was on board with that. I don't know if I am now. Lose complete control of who goes in there and what happens.
yeah, I'm personally not in favor of selling. And, I believe, the BOCES numbers were interesting, and I think those are not so pie in the sky. There's some, I don't want to say, there's been expressed interest from multiple parties already.
I mean, the money from BOCES plus the $10 years of $100,000, but still maintain the building. Steve, is there anyone we can compile like a list? I know we have questions, we have lots of amazing questions that the audience has prepared for us. What's our next step? I mean, what should the facilities committee do? What should we do as a board?
I think that these questions and any others you want to send me, I will bring them back to the Facilities Committee and they can be prepared to answer your questions. Perhaps do another another presentation with the answers to your questions. I think it'd be highly appropriate to allow parents who are interested in seeing what Lenape looks like on the inside and what the middle school looks like on the inside, giving them a chance to take a tour would be good.
Presumably we have the resources there, probably sooner than later, figure out what the cost to arrange some sort of independent third-party review of all this.
Yeah.
100% like that idea.
Yeah, I agree with that also. Yeah, we had a request from, I believe it was Matt Elkin, for an independent cost-benefit analysis, and I think that makes a lot of sense. Because, we just want to be sure that we're proceeding correctly. I mean, this is a really, really huge issue with a lot of moving pieces to it. That said, I personally would like to see, I know it's tough to get, but I want to see numbers on what other options we have to consolidate space, specifically moving the district office. I just want to see more options fleshed out so that way we're going into a clear-eyed.
Yeah, Mike is already looking into getting numbers for what it would cost to move the district office and to repurpose the district office for classrooms.
Great.
Also, we talked to the facilities about maybe moving pre-K somewhere else. So, for example, Lenape underneath formula would be filled up, right? I think it was 598 students. That was most, or close to it. It was almost as big as a high school. What do we have, 3 UPK classes?
Yes, sir.
And I know we talked at one of the facilities meetings at great length about moving UPK to the high school.
And having high school kids be able to work with pre-K somehow in a collaborative way.
Which would be great, cool, but either way, like moving it, if that wasn't an option, that wasn't the only reason, but like alleviating some of Lenape by moving 60+ kids out.
Would have to make some accommodations for facilities, of all the guys.
In speaking to a town person, a municipal person, my understanding is the town used to offer pre-K classes through their facilities. I'm not sure when that was discontinued, but that was at one point in time something the town provided.
Like location.
They provided location.
That'd be great to look into again.
Personally, I really like our kids on campus. Yeah, I think that was an amazing thing we did.
Maybe facilities could take a deeper dive into the UPK, the high school. Like how much would it be?
Yeah, I also heard a lot of feedback, and know a few students that went through UPK last year who are now first graders in Duzine, and there's no hurdle. You come to your first day, kindergarten, and busing's not an issue. They know the space, so I mean, there's certainly value of keeping UPK with kindergarten. There's that convenience and benefit to a lot of kids, but there's brings down headcount quite a bit.
Bathrooms have to be updated in Lenape to accommodate younger children.
Yeah, I think so.
Some, yep.
Regarding the busing, it would be really great to get some of Maureen's feedback on where the 4 buses come from that she estimated, and like just for example, as a parent who's got a child in Duzine and Lenape, those buses come like sometimes one right after the other, and so I'm curious So I'm assuming in a circumstance where we consolidated the two buildings, those kids would both get on the same bus at the same time and off they go. So I'm just wondering if that's the circumstance, that every kid in elementary school takes the same buses. I'm just wondering where only 4 get saved. So anyway, I know it's complex. I know that what she does with her routes is very complex. So I'd love to just have her tell us, explain to us how that all works, and also to have her draw up a situation where, actually just ask her if it's feasible to bus, if we were to move 5th graders to the middle school, how do we do that without putting them on a bus with high schoolers? What does that look like?
You're asking so for like a separate run for 5th or 6th grade?
I don't even know. I mean, I'm defer to her expertise if that's even feasible. I'm not sure.
And I think it'd be good just to talk about, the 5th grade moving, a little deeper. And I could see a K through 5 campus being, maybe that's too many grades in one campus. So maybe that's not ideal, but I also hear the concerns about 5th grade riding the bus with high school students. But I think if we move 5th grade to the middle school, I think we really need to update our recreational recess opportunities for them.
I mean, facilities was pretty dialed in with that, upgrading playground, purchasing new equipment.
But that was slated for Proposition 2, which failed. So that's something that I would love to hear more about, like where does that leave us in terms of providing recreational opportunities for our middle schoolers? Because I think it's crucial whether or not the 5th graders move into the middle school. I think those kids need an opportunity to have shaded spaces to sit and recreational places to do tetherball or whatever they want to do.
One thing I'd like to add from mine, in Proposition 2 was the removal of the old tennis courts at the middle school. I think that's something we could do in-house. We have a backhoe. We could pull posts, we could take down fence, we could peel up the blacktop, and we could put topsoil for future use. I mean, that's something we could do in-house.
And if I'm not mistaken, isn't the playground at Duzine within a few, I think we appropriated a few years ago, $50,000. Remember that for a new playground at Duzine?
I mean, yeah, there's a possibility of repurposing some of that.
Yeah.
All depends on whether you decide to sell it or lease it, and maybe whoever leasing it, if you decide to lease it, might want that still there. So, but playground equipment, we can get our hands on it.
For me, we've been talking a lot about money, but for me, the joining of the two buildings is really important to address some of the problems that Linda brought up at the December 4th meeting with just vertical and horizontal alignment of the elementary grades. I don't know, I just see a lot of opportunity for melting the two together and having the same resources in the same spot.
I agree.
So for me, it's not just that $1 million a year that we'll be saving budgetarily, but it's just in the pursuit of educational excellence, which is, I think, our #1 goal this year. I think.
Yeah, it's good continuity for sure.
I guess, just speaking for myself, I'm in favor of probably closing the building for sure. But I don't know if I'm interested in selling it or leasing it, and I don't know how this would take place. I mean, some people talk about maybe 2026. Is it a little too soon? Maybe, I'd be interested in hearing ideas about maybe moving it back a year, but I'm also okay if it was the 26.
Maybe that can be part of the cost benefit analysis. That's another variable.
Also, the variable that I didn't think of, so thank you for including in the presentation, is the parking lot and the $2 million allocated to redo the parking lot. Interesting that we're doing it at this time, so it's also a huge win. But I'd be curious of what the likelihood is that could be done before the school year if they can't start until summer of 26, which is, I think,
that's
initially, yeah. I remember when high school got done.
We have plenty of room there. We need to expand, relocate the loops. I'm confident to get that done.
And Mike Lantier from H2M was very confident that
Justin, did you just say you want a cost benefit analysis of doing it in September 26 versus 2027?
I mean, this isn't a new idea. I know it might seem new to some people, but
We brought it up.
years ago, the studies were drawn up, I mean, and that was with more students, so I know change is really hard. But for me, I mean, it just seems inevitable.
Holding on to it and leasing, to address the comments from some people in regards to the town's building more, housing population could go back up, our enrollment could go back up, so if we don't sell it, we need that other building at some point to have it.
I mean, the thing about selling it, I was very excited about selling Duzine for like a year, if we closed it. But I've waffled on that in the past several months, thinking it's over. And to me, one of the biggest things, aside from that, right, we might need it, is once we sell it, there's no property trade in downtown New Paltz where we can just give them a property. And then once we sell it, we lose, what's going to go there? I mean, people talked about a legacy. Yeah, we need a school board to close the school, right? Even if it's a good idea, and it sounds like it is, and it needs to be done, we're still a group of people that are closing the school. I don't want the legacy on top of it that like a mega car wash we did, or like whatever was going to go there. It's like we don't know. I mean, you could think, oh, if we sell it, they could put it in assisted living, and it'd be wonderful for the community. Maybe it's a hotel for like rich out of town people. That's something we should think about as far as settlement goes.
It sounds a lot like what I heard when I got here about the big blue house on the corner. Like there was talk about selling it, and then there was like, wait a minute, what do we want to have here? We lose control of that property, we'll never have that property.
And we have brought lawyers in, and they're like, yeah, if you sell it, and but if they sold it, and like everything.
No clause would hang up to say, hold on.
There's like a smoke shop there.
It's not just the first buyer, could be the second buyer, right?
Yeah.
So it might be useful to talk to other school districts who have had buildings that they have transitioned out of, and how did they handle those? Because in the end, right, the market will determine whether or not you can lease or will you find a buyer. It's a little bit out of your control. And what you want to try to avoid is to have a building that you're still partially heating, incurring the expense of, but not using. So how long do you keep a building that you would like to lease, but you can't find anyone to lease it to?
I mean, that's a valid point. We discussed that. I mean, we definitely have a couple of groups that are interested in leasing.
And BOCE's leasing buildings is not. I mean, the district that I grew up and went through. Not only did they consolidate buildings, but they consolidated with a neighboring district. BOCE's has been renting the elementary school in my little town for the past 20 plus years.
There are new housing projects going up along Route 32 North. I believe there's 3 new apartment complexes being built, and they're large. I think 2 of them are at least as big as Zero Place, maybe bigger, and the other one is large, is like twice the size or something like that. So anyway, I don't know enough, obviously, because I'm just kind of speaking off the cuff, but I'd love to know more about those new units that are going in, how many there are, and what they look like. Are they designed for seniors? Are they designed for families?
Zero Place, there's going to be retail on the bottom floor.
Right.
It's 3 stories, not 4. Zero Place is 4.
Yeah.
It's going to be 3 stories with apartments that are.
Like 1 bed, 2 bed? What are we talking? Like, is it the type of place that would be attractive to families?
It's not being built as affordable housing.
Right.
I mean, I don't know, but, and I might be wrong, and maybe we get letters saying that guy's wrong. But I'm thinking it's like Zero Place. It's going to be filled up with people that are coming up, weekends, single, I don't think families are going to be trucking into these new complexes.
Yeah.
The fact that we have 1,000 people come into town last year and not a.
Did budget.
Right.
Kindergarten, first grade, which is when a lot of them move.
Yeah, well, that's
Telling to the group.
why I'm curious. I want to look into it and see, like, what exactly are those units?
Well, definitely
What can we
retail
expect?
apartment.
Yeah.
I know that, there's some apartments in the top, above the second and third floors.
Yeah. No, I mean, point well taken that, we increased our population, but not our school district. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to look around and see that a lot of the housing that's been bought up here is not families who send their kids to New Paltz School District.
I mean, are we in favor of like closing the school, not necessarily selling it, but closing it? I mean, where are we at with that?
That's a great question. I'm just not sure you're at that point yet.
No, yeah, it's too early for me to. Yeah.
Okay.
I think you gotta decide if you even want to do it first.
Well, to me, the purpose of this discussion is A, to reflect on what we heard from the community, and B, to think about our next steps and really do fact finding right now and find out, what are the facts, where do they lead us, and then go from there. That's my take on what we need to do now. I'm not at all prepared to make a judgment one way or the other
I
yet.
wasn't suggesting close the school, I just like, where are we now? We should are we setting up another presentation, another meeting? I mean, I like the idea, and I can't believe I'm gonna say this, having an extra meeting, that we just discussed Duzine. This is a tremendous thing, tremendous. And it's 9 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Super important decision shouldn't be made at the end of a 3-hour board meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. What would happen if there were a sudden influx at said apartment buildings? Budgetarily, we can't just add a ton of new teachers. If we're working within a certain budget, what would we do? Forget about the buildings, but
Well, that's happened to a lot of schools in this state and in this country recently. And the answer is, there's no good answer to that. You don't have the money, so you scrimp, and you have bigger class sizes, and it's crowded, and there's no good answer to that.
The Duzine teachers been invited over to Lenape to see what classroom they may need and kind of get a sense of what it would be like.
No, but I think, like I said, I think a lot of people would like to get a look at Lenape if we're talking about putting Duzine in there. So I'd love to run some tours of Lenape so anybody can see it, and the middle school. Yeah.
So when we talked about facilities, we were talking the wing down there, which I want to say the old 6th grade wing. One floor was the 6th grade, and one would be the 5th grade.
Yeah, that's its own entrance right off the bus turnaround. There's 5 classrooms right there, already set up.
I think your next step is, I've got a lot of questions, and I'm going to get more. People from the community are going to email me. Please email me. And you guys probably will come up with more. I think it's just a matter of making a big list of questions and getting a big list of answers, and then you can decide where you want to go from there. And if you want to have another extra board meeting to discuss this and have another community forum, I think that's fine.
Yeah, let's get a lot more information.
Thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I appreciate everything. All right, can I get a motion for 23.1 to adjourn the meeting?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks.